welcome, one and all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever, whenever, however you all are. It is Friday night, and it is the 28th episode of Clobby's Comic Shop. Nice to see you guys here. Let's acknowledge those faces. FKHC 2005, Joe Dog, Stephen M. Kal-El, Subhuman 84, Dave C. How's it going? Madhouse Retro Gaming, my guy Madhouse. How you doing, dude? Let's acknowledge who's also on Rumble, Occupant 42, and yes, we are dual streaming on Rumble, which I'm going to share the link so that way you guys can have it both ways and stream to Rumble as well. So boom, right there. Oh yeah. It's looking good. It's looking damn good. But hopefully, guys, this Friday night was good. I was watching FNT earlier because I saw Razor Fist was guesting. So it's like, okay, that's a stop what you're doing, always watch type of situation. And I don't know if I heard him correctly. I want you guys to tell me if you guys caught the episode, because I didn't rewind it to catch the replay because I was still doing stuff at home. But it sounded like he is now continuing Ghosts of the Badlands at the initially said it was going to be not happening going forward with a follow-up. Did I hear that correctly? If any of you guys caught FNT, let me know, because I think I heard him say he's gonna keep continuing with the difference because he showed off some art. I don't know if it was just something I didn't get all the context if like someone just sent him a piece to do because they love the story or if he's moving forward. But I really, really hope that he continues with it. I really do. I thought Ghost of the Badlands is badass. I had the paperback, and it's like a huge magazine, like the Savage Sword of Conan, which I love, and is in the black and white edition. So I really hope it does happen. Hey, it's my guy Christian DeLorme, and he's been a member for 16 months. He said, well, I saw Clobby. That means Nick. Love from Canada, and love to you, Christian DeLorme. Thank you, buddy. Hopefully you and Mrs. DeLorme, your daughter, doing good. Your son, too. How's it going, Jonathan Conroy? Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts about that Badlands. We'll obviously be talking our classic Spidey, and then after that, a little bit about that Transformers and Nemesis Rogues Gallery. It's a wild week. It was a freaking wild week. So, especially in the lore and world of comics. Hey, it's Hojo as well. How's it going, Hojo? Crom! And you know what? We got I was gonna bring in Pablo, but he showed up and then let's try this again. Hello.
Oh. Hey, there's something really weird about the implementation for this is not the StreamYard, it's Streamlabs. Well, anyway, I have to reload the page if I want to see whatever is happening on the stream, because otherwise I will just see the background. So that's why I disappeared. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering why that was all happening. It was like you were here. I decided to let you in right away, and then boom, you just left. I was like,
I'm like Mysterio
first. Huh?
I'm like Mysterio.
Oh, how timely considering what we're talking about tonight with our 4 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh man, to be honest, I was trying to do my homework right now because I had some things to do today, including going to a phone operator to basically tell them your contract is null, not because they have done a lot wrong. That's why we are looking for a way to kill the contract, but because you are so stupid that you set the contract as it was made in another province. That basically invalidates the whole thing because it was not signed in the province that it says. So guess what? The contract is wrong. You don't have a contract, bastards. I mean, pause. Yeah, but I got home to read Spider-Man, and I can't say that is a bad thing. Reading Spider-Man is always good.
Dude,
So
reading Spider-Man is like, especially this type of Spider-Man, it really is always good. Not just because
yeah,
it's fun to pass, it's what kickstarted it all. It's just these are genuinely great comic book stories on their own merits.
you can say at this point that it's not even what started Spider-Man. This is the evolution of Spider-Man. There's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
that's true. Yeah, because this is the Romita era is definitely where it definitely kicked it up a few levels, a few of
oh
them, not
yeah.
just one or two. I'd say five to seven, in my humble opinion.
I'm I'm just wishing this year. Oh, it's this year, right? Magic the Gathering will have a full set just for
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man. Because they want to keep the licenses of a lot of the stuff that they had on Hasbro. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of doing toys, because toys are not selling, they are doing Spider-Man. Oh, in general, Marvel stuff with
Mm-hmm.
Magic the Gathering. And I hope they get somebody that has at least a bit of love for Romita or for
Mm-hmm.
Ditko,
Mm-hmm.
that can replicate this kind of art in the cards, because that will be killer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm serious. I haven't bought a full box of boosters for Magic the Gathering in my life.
Yeah.
If they nail the quality of the art on the cards, I'm buying a a full box.
As you should.
Yeah,
As you freaking should, Pablo.
dude, uh, I shouldn't be that hopeful about Hasbro, because Hasbro has deal a lot of terrible, stupid things
Mm-hmm.
to me out
Oh,
of
they
late.
love their terrible decisions.
Oh, they are so stupid,
They
man.
love them. They're in love with them. It's an extension of the romance of terrible
Oh
decisions.
yeah, but last year they had a couple of cards, uh, a theme on Marvel characters, and the Iron
Uh-huh.
Man and the Captain America cards are
Uh-huh.
absolutely stunning. And I mean it. The quality of the art, the I have seen the foils. I didn't get the cards because it was a lot of money, and also they sold out in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the people that were waiting to buy the cards, almost everybody got disappointed. Those cards
Oh, I'm
sold
sure.
instantly. But a friend of mine actually got them,
Yeah.
and he got the foil sets. Captain America is beautiful, but Iron Man is not the best card. Captain America is the best. Of the whole set, I will say Storm and Captain America are absolutely the best choices. That Iron Man. And they have the arc reactor.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Man,
D-Bud's
it's
probably geeking out backstage about it. I'm
beautiful.
just saying.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
just saying.
Oh, and Madhouse, yeah, the Transformer cards are great. The Marvel cards. There's one card that normally costs like $2. The Doctor Strange version of that card is
Uh-huh.
150.
Woo! Holy
Yeah.
macaroni, man. That's crazy,
And
dude.
I have seen it on
Holy
physical.
shit.
There's a guy that has it on the folder.
Uh-huh.
Fucking beautiful. I will get the pictures to show you, but
Oh, please,
dude,
man. How's it going, D-Bud?
Well, I feel like Pablo really still isn't here yet because since he popped in and popped out, I didn't get to hear him say, hi.
howdy
Or
ho!
There we go.
Eh.
Hello, Pablo.
Hey, brother.
I love Friday nights. I really do.
Yeah.
D Bud, I'm so glad you could be with us for this Spider-Man saga. This issue, these issues for me in particular I have a little extra attachment to because it has my favorite Spider-Man villain ever, Mysterio ever. Like
Mhm.
he's like the top of my pantheon of ridiculous villains. Even though he's considered more classic and more, I guess, respected than ours, there's still an element of ridiculous to it because of the theatrics. But there are times where his character can be taken very seriously and deadly if Peter drops his guard, if he does, which does happen sometimes. So
Yeah,
I
this is a
love
good
these
one.
issues. Oh, dude.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is, yeah, for me. Yeah, there's some next level shit on these issues, but I'm happy you're here, man. I'm excited to talk about these comics, and we have a common nerd here as well. How's it going, buddy?
Good. It's been a busy Friday, as most of my Fridays normally are. Had a great stream today. Had to cut out a little early on $5 Fridays because I had another stream that I had to go to, which was a really good time as well. One of our guys got me roped into all of that, but we had some fun over there as well. Did that until 5. Got to hang out with a bunch of fun folks and got my homework done. Just in time. Leave it to me, the student that does it right before class starts. That's how I roll. That's how
ready
I roll.
for class. My man.
I did. The ink's still wet on the homework, but by God, it's gonna nail me an A one way or the other. So yeah. But yeah, so these are I'm excited to talk about these two because there's a lot of really fun parts in all 4 of these. But yeah, look at that. See, that's why Marvel Rivals is doing so well because their fucking heroes look like this.
Yeah, dude, I wish.
Nice
look at the price of the card. It's $44 just for that card, and I wish I had the time and the patience to be on queue when they were selling the secret layers, because I will have bought every single one, even if I didn't have money. I would have.
That's why they do this shit, though.
Yeah.
Is because of this. Is because of the resale market and shit like this.
The Iron Man is also great, man. I love
it's only $30, not even.
That is nice, that Iron Man.
Only $30. Like they could have it wouldn't have cost them nothing to print 10 times as many, but it's all about making it drives up the hype.
It came with a few cards, every package, every secret layer. I think it was like 5 cards, and each one was $35. The issue is that some of these cards are now selling for $60-$70, depending on which. This one?
That's $100. It's not the $150 one.
Yeah, apparently it lost $50 on price. It's still too expensive for me. I use the normal one.
Is dope though. The art.
I like that strange. I like that.
Yeah, I like that strange too.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So if they get artists to do this kind of art, let me see if I can get the Storm one. Storm. Okay, this will be more difficult than I thought. Anyway, I will get a Storm to show later, but the quality of this art is incredible. So please, Marvel, please Hasbro, don't fuck this up. I have until the end of the year to save money. I will be buying the box. I'm sure they will price hike the box for this set because they are fucking assholes. But even if they go for 100 and something, normally it's 130 for a box. But if they go to 170 or something like that, I will try to save the money for that. Because if they nail Spider-Man, remember, my top 3 is Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange.
It's a good top 3.
So they better keep it just safe. Just go for this kind of art. You know?
Well, and I think that's one of the changes we're seeing even inside of a company like Hasbro right now. And even with all the bullshit we've had to deal with Hasbro over the last few years, whether it be Wizards of the Coast or whatever. But it's one of those things where like they know there's certain things that work, and it all just depends on who's probably behind the project, who's doing the art, but they're not doing, the bullshit that we've seen with everything else with the really trashy artwork. Like Marvel, Somebody inside of Marvel's realized things have to change, because between Marvel Rivals and what's going on with these cards, something's changed, because all of this stuff has to go through an approval, right? What? That one's okay.
Yeah, this is
That one's okay.
kinda meh.
Yeah. That one's
There was a Jessica's Wheel that was a storm theme. Oh, let me see if. Yep.
that looks like it. Now, see, that looks pretty cool. I'd like to be able to zoom in on Storm to see how her proportions are, but the fucking card looks cool as shit. How close? Can
Oh,
we
I used the normal one. I used what's it? Was mine? I think it was this set. I have this one, but the storm theme one.
Yeah, that's gold. That's freaking cool looking. Yeah.
You play one of these. It's a symbol of status.
I mean, considering the price of that fucking card, I wouldn't actually ever play with it.
Yeah.
I have.
That's like having a Black Lotus. Would you really play it?
Right.
If I had a Black Lotus and it was legal on Commander, I will. It's slamming your table if you have a Black Lotus and you play it. It's the most Chad move that you could ever do. But I have.
That's why it's like back in the day. That's why it was always a good idea to get 2 of everything, because you never knew what was going to become worth something. And it's like if you've got 2 of everything, then that works. And then also that's the best part. If you've got 2 of everything and one of them becomes worth $1,000, well, fuck it. I've still got the $1,000 one. I'll play with the other one. Kind of like D-Bud was with its comics. He plays with all of them.
This is my favorite card on my collection. Also, the price is one that I have in my collection. It's $400.
You have this one. Wow.
Yeah.
Damn,
I cracked a pack on the store. A friend of mine cracked his pack and he got this foil Jace the Mind Sculptor on a foxy shape. And I was like, I will buy that from you. Nah, I will pay you full price right now for that card. So I got really salty and I see the collector boosters and I'm like, I'm buying this one. I crack open the collector
and
booster.
You got that.
Yeah.
You got the $400 version. Aren't you glad he didn't sell you that card? Because you would have never bought that pack.
I was like, suck it, bitch.
The Lord was looking out. The Lord was looking out for you, Pablo. He knew what was best for you. You just were being impatient. He knew.
He freaking knew.
Up to this day, is the priciest card ever cracked on that store.
All right, guys. I'm ready to talk Spider-Man.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Let's freaking do this. I'm really excited about these issues. This batch. Issue 65 through 68. So let's whip this screen out. Let's get it up and we will get on going. So chat, I hope you are ready to come with us and talk some Spidey, because it's gonna be huge. Oh, core member. What's up, core member? Long time no see, man. I see you on the Dix Division shows. But dude, no, thanks for dropping in. You must be lurking. You must be one of them guys. But yes, let's get going. Let's get this screen up. And you know what? As I did last week, I'm going to let our guest be the leadoff man on these particular issues, Mr. dbudmartin.
Wait, before that, I know we don't have Clobby, so I cannot do a proper Stanley.
Oh god, dude, none of us can. That was a Clobby thing. That I don't. If you want to have a go at it, I
have something different, because last week we ended on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
So previously on Spider-Man.
Oh, nice. That was good. I like it. All right, D-Bud, you and Common are gonna have it with this issue, so you'll lead it off, then Common will go.
Okay. Yeah, this is actually the first issue in a long string of issues that Jim Mooney is the inker. He's the new inker on the book.
Uh-huh.
And you'll see he's got a lot darker style than some of the other inkers on this. Still beautiful stuff, especially on the Spider-Man, the costume character. It looks really good.
It does.
So yeah, he's great. We're probably going to see him, I think, for the rest of the run that we're doing on this these 20 issues. He's filling the rest of it. And John Romita's back on doing the art.
Yeah.
This is it starts with a Spidey's predicament. He's passed out. He's just defeated the Vulture, but with his shoulder injury and the beating he took from the Vulture, he's out cold, lying here on his this web cushion he made. And the crowd's coming in, and they all want to unmask him. But this Captain Stacy guy, he wants to do things all legal.
I like Captain Stacy. I really like him. I think he's a great character.
He's some kind of nut, though. Just look, JJ's got it right. So you're not unmasking him. You some kind of nut. But he's a criminal. We got to unmask him now.
But the best line was said by JJ to Captain Stacy, and it was one of those lines just like, how did you get to point A to point B from the line where he said, rights at a time like this? I knew it. You're a religious fanatic. I'm like, hey, he doesn't know anything. What does that have to do with anything, JJ?
I love that. Well, that's because if you actually understood our Constitution, which a lot of these guys probably did, you understood that rights came from God.
Yep.
So, yeah, you religious fanatic. How dare you believe men have rights and they should be able to, free to do what they want.
Just remember, J. Jonah is the media.
Yeah, he's a communist automatically.
Exactly. Yeah, he just did. JJ's great through this part. He's like ranting that we gotta unmask him. Come on, but he's happy at least that they're taking him off to jail. Yeah. But Gwen, in the meantime, she's still worried about Peter because she knew he was up on the roof taking pictures during the Vulture's attack, and nobody's seen him since. Because I wonder why. And so she's all just, where's poor Peter? I'm so worried, Daddy. Meanwhile, JJ's just, the police have got Spider-Man. He's hardly even caring that, Robbie was injured.
Right, that Robbie's all messed up and damn near got a broken arm.
The doctor.
JJ's all like, well, it's the only reason he's not worse is because I was there to save him.
That's right.
Jameson, man.
You gotta love J. Jonah
And
Jameson.
he says, we're gonna finally get this guy. But JJ, he tried to save everybody from the Vulture. He's like, no, he wasn't. It was just a grudge fight between them.
Yeah.
Personally, I can't stand anyone who carries a grudge.
Which I loved that so much because you're like, you're the ultimate grudge carrier. What are you talking? I love the fact that Jameson is just like a literal, like completely, totally unaware hypocrite. Like he is a hypocrite, like through and through, and he's just completely and totally unaware of it at all times. Like his narcissism and his ego just rank beyond Governor Newsom's at this point. Like it's just mind-boggling.
I don't know.
D-Bud's like, I don't know about that. I live in California.
Remember, I live in California.
Right, I forgot. Never mind. You're right. Oh, God bless you, my poor friend. God bless you.
I blame Mexican Iron Man for not taking me with him when he moved to out of state.
Did he finally leave? Oh, that lucky bastard.
I have heard that California right now is smoking.
Let me put it this way. It's the hot place to be, okay?
You guys are a bunch of blowhards.
Hey, you know what blows really hard?
That
Mojave Desert fucking wind, buddy.
That was nuts. All right.
Which regularly happens, and yet some people don't prepare for that.
Yeah. I was watching that video
for hurricane season when you live on the Gulf Coast. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
No, man, I was watching that video of the McDonald's sign burning, And I was like,
Hmm.
and somehow the fries were still cold and soggy.
You get the worst McDonald's is in your foreign countries. You get the worst McDonald's.
If they just start
Anyway.
doing them in beef tallow again.
Exactly. But yeah,
Yes,
this, yeah, I love it. Even the doctor's like, no, 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 no. And I love how my favorite part about this too is because I've been watching so much CSI lately. You're always dealing with this kind of stuff because my wife loves those on the Pluto channel. And then there's mindless serial fun, but which is what some of the comics were. But it was funny too, because like it's like straight down from the commissioner, like, look, if we take this Jay to jail, we're not taking any chances of violating his rights and getting this conviction overturned by the fucking judge, whether we pull off his mask or not. Like, I love that there's a legitimate argument over whether or not they can legally do that, because like that wouldn't even be something people would even consider writing stories like these days.
Okay,
but they're actually considering like the legal consequences of what they're doing.
It fits
the
Captain Stacy though, because he's that's
there's
the
a way
type
to
of person
overrule
he
that
is.
though. And I mean, this is actually in most countries is kind of international law, but it's set by country. That if you are in an emergency and the paramedics need to destroy your clothes or your belongings, that's for game. That just happens. So because he is unconscious and they have plausible injuries that may be life threatening, they actually could remove the suit, not the mask, unless they can show that the head
If
was
they needed
injured.
to intubate him or something like that,
Yeah.
and give him oxygen, they could take his mask off.
But the suit, they had to cut it with scissors because that's the right way to remove the suit. If you try to remove the pants normally or anything, you could injure a vertebrae.
You gotta shoot people around.
Yeah. If there's a bleeding, you can worsen it and everything. So you have just to cut everything. Still, they followed the law. They didn't follow proper procedure, but they followed the law.
All right, D-Bud. Carry it on. Carry it away, sir.
Yeah, well, it's as you can see here. It's Spidey's sitting in the infirmary there, waiting to find out what's going to happen to him. He's recovering, and he's got his spider constitution, so he recovers rather quickly. He heals up pretty well. He's still a little groggy, but then we have the classic prison break story, of course, while he's there. And these cons have broken out. They capture Captain Stacy and use him as a hostage. And of course, Spidey's what am I going to do now? I'm still not quite all there, but I can't let these guys go, and I need to protect Captain Stacy. So he plays along that, hey, I need to break out of here too. I don't want to be captured by the cops, which is not entirely untrue. And he has to tussle a little bit with them to kind of prove that he doesn't care about Captain Stacy's safety, which he does, but he has to make them think he doesn't.
Well, and that's the nice part. He's playing the smart moves too, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about this Spider-Man compared to this actually shows how intelligent that Peter Parker is, because he's a genius in his own right, and this shows you that even though he's at a disadvantage, even though he's still groggy from waking up, he's still not 100%. He's like, I can use my brains to outwit them. I don't just have to go in here full force. He's doing the heroic, smart thing, and it shows you his intelligence, how well he is adaptable to these situations, and that's one of the things that makes Spider-Man a great character.
Yeah, and he figures out. He already kind of figures out his strategy. He's like, okay, I've got to play along that, and I got to convince them a little bit that I'm with them, and then I'll the only way, because there's like a 10 of them, or probably it's 8 or 10 guys that he's got in this group. He's like, well, I can't take him out without Captain Stacy being injured. So he goes, okay, the only way I can do this is to pick them off 1 or 2 at a time, and the best way to do that is to cut the power. So he says, oh, I'm gonna take off and scout things here, and of course it turns off the power, puts everything in the dark, makes it hard for them to see, but of course he's not going to have as big of a problem because he's got his spider senses and all.
Fear of the dark.
And
Fear of the dark.
Yeah, and makes them, it probably puts a little bit of fear into them while doing that as well. But then he just starts picking them off 1, 2 at a time, knocking them out, webbing them up.
He goes like full Batman on like the Arkham City
Yeah.
games where you're having to like run around in the dark. You just like snatch everybody up. You like, and I think there was a couple of I think it was like the first PlayStation Spider-Man game. You got to do that too, and I loved that too because it's smart. It's just it's the great way to do it. You just pick them off 1 or 2 at a time, and you're good to go. And they don't know the wiser because it's freaking dark.
I 100% that game. Those missions were great because you could actually shoot webbing to make noise. And because the one guy was going this way and the other guy stayed, you cut the guy that stayed. And then you jump into the platform and you caught the guy that you distracted. And then because that guy screams, there's another guy coming. So you get 3 for 1. It was great.
Well, and you actually see that in here too. And they see that's how you know the people that created those games were fans, because it's literally pulling scenes straight out of what's happening in this book.
Absolutely.
I do that more in the old Manhunt game. If you remember that one, except for you folks in Australia where it was banned.
Yeah, I remember that.
I played the PlayStation one that had a Stan Lee narration, and it was great.
That's awesome.
Dude, Stan Lee narrating what you were doing obviously it was pre-recorded, but there was a lot of good jokes. There was a lot of good Stan Lee juice yapping around. It was
sure
great.
It wasn't Clobby that did that narration?
You never know.
Yeah, so I mean, Spidey winds up, of course, gets down to the last guy, which is the hardest because he's the one holding Captain Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's able to, of course, take him out in the end. And Captain Stacy's, oh well, okay, gee, thanks. And where are you going? Well, I'm not sticking around because I can't afford to get myself unmasked.
No.
And he spends a little time before he pulls the plug, he calls Aunt May because, I haven't talked to her in a while. She's going to be all worried about me. And
which that just
she's
made
even more panicky because, what's going on? Where have you been? You're so frail. her usual worry of Peter, and it's like, oh shoot, it was probably worse than I called her. I should have just waited and gone to see her.
Well, and one of the things I liked about this one too, because we just passed this panel earlier, it made me think of it. Like, I don't know much about MJ outside of like the Amazing Spider-Man series and like how her attitude was outside of like her and Peter being together, right? And I love like seeing this little scene in here where she's like trying to talk to Harry, and he's like, he's all worried about his dad and everything else, and she's like, I didn't even understand half the jive she was speaking, when I was reading through it, but I'm like, she's trying to be hip, she's like trying to like get him to like talk about something, like she's just like, she's all offended because he's like, I'm not paying any attention to you, I got other shit on my mind, and she's just like, what the fuck ever, man, and I'm like, I was like, that's kind of.
But
do you need me to translate what she said?
Yeah, you were probably old enough to understand when they were
I understood it, and I understood
Interesting, I did too. But there's a panel when Stacy is talking with Captain Stacy on the phone that I find it could, in current day, it could be so.
Don't go there.
Yeah,
there.
she is, but dude, if you change your mind,
that is not how she says that at all.
If you change your mind, that's how I'm making the most delicious, delightful, delectable little dad, and I'm like, ooh.
Oh, Pablo.
You have been corrupted by way too much Rule 20 fucking whatchamacallit.
34?
Yeah, Rule 30. Way too much Rule 34 and way
too much manga stuff.
Yes, too much manga, too much anime.
A long time ago, I modded /B.
I have no idea what that is.
I can imagine.
I don't even want to know.
Got anything else, D-Bud, or shall we pass the baton on to the common nerd?
Well, just because he mentioned about Mary Jane. I mean, last time when we were doing the previous 20 issues, we were talking about, which girl do you think Peter should have been with? Gwen
Mhm.
or Mary Jane, and I think I was the one that was for Gwen because she was the one he was with when I started reading, which was right around these. But uh, it kind of like Common was saying that I mean, Mary Jane's you notice in these that she's really shallow in these
Mhm.
books, and that was another reason. I mean, I've always thought of her more as a shallow girl than compared to Gwen. Uh, and you see it more here. It's not really
Mhm.
until Gwen dies that you really see some real depth with Mary Jane. And even then, after that, it's kind of a while before they really start dating and seeing each other seriously.
She was
So
playing the
I've
long game.
always thought, I've always thought of Mary Jane more as a shallow girl than anything else. Whereas she was actually a science student and was a great match for Peter.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was a
So
keeper.
Well, and that's one of the things I really like seeing in this issue too is, well, I guess it's more in the next issue, but like like seeing her like just be so upset about the fact that she's wrong and she really wants him back, and like the lovingness that there is in that relationship. I really really liked that in this. But
Okay. Well, then, Common Nerd, take it away, brother. What were your thoughts on this issue?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. Like I said earlier, we were talking about kind of going through some of these panels. Like, I really appreciate how you get to see Spider-Man at his intelligence, use his intelligence. It's not just brawn. He's still got his quick wit. He's still cracking jokes. Even when he's quote unquote pretending to be the bad guy, he's still kind of cracking jokes and messing with their heads the whole time, and he's still being very calculating. And like I said, I like to see a little bit more of that in depth, like the things I didn't know about Mary Jane from the early issues. I like being able to see that. I like getting to see Gwen Stacy in this one. So there's a lot of great action. The panels in the dark are really well done. And it's one of the things too, I guess this is something that Madhouse kind of mentioned earlier in the chat, talking about like everything post 2010 seems to be a lot more in on the panels and on the art and not so much on the story. And I've noticed that in even other things that we've gone through with these ones, there is so much more story in these books. And by that, I mean, not just the panels and the information they tell in that, but there's a lot more dialogue in these. These things are way more dialogue heavy than a lot
You're
of the
not
things
done
you
in
see.
5 minutes with like an issue like you would be
No.
from Marvel DC today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
True.
think that's one of the reasons why I never really got into comics much as a kid, because the ones that were coming out at that time were that kind of era, that 90s era where, yeah, I mean, I'm a kid that was reading chapter books in like third grade. Okay, I'm like Lord, like 507,000 word books. So like when I read this, I'm like, I enjoy this a lot more because this takes me a bit to get through. I even from some of our friends, some of the books they put out nowadays, I can still knock them out in 15 minutes. One of these takes me sometimes a good 20-30 minutes to get through, depending on what else I've got going on. And I like that. I like this more dense storytelling that you get out of these classic stories from this era that you don't get in the modern era at all. And it gives you the chance for a lot more character development. It gives you a chance to expand on other characters and give you more time with them, explore their thoughts, explore their feelings. And this is just so much more well done than really anything we see in the modern era, independent or mainstream. There's just so much more depth to these books, and this is what we really need to get back to. This is what I really miss, and this is what makes me love comics even more. It's why I love being on this show, is because this is the kind of stuff this is what gave everybody the love for it. This is why dbudmartin still got his comics from when he was a kid, because these are the kind of stories that will make you feel that and make you want to be involved with every single one of these characters. I can give you
there's more panels in these than current books. So there's more dialogue because you have more panels. And I mean, in this issue, it's mostly action. There's only a few pages that aren't part of the actions part of the story. And yet you're getting all this backstory going on with these characters. And it's enough that it still keeps you engaged with all of these supporting characters.
And
yet you still got the action.
Yeah, and I didn't know squat about Captain Stacy or anything like this, and I already have an opinion of the kind of man he is within the first few panels and some of the first few things he says, and then just throughout the rest of the story, that's just reiterated even more. Even though, like you said, there's not as much dialogue. There's more action than dialogue in this still, and yet you get insight into every single character every single time they talk. It's not just something to explain the events that are going on or a backstory. You're actually getting something to the character's personality and what drives them and their motivations, and it's just done so well in this one.
Let's say that his personality and appearance in the comic is kind of short.
Okay.
Whoever understand the joke about
I
kind of
actually didn't
spoiler.
get it.
It's pretty obvious just by the fact that you made the joke what's going to happen. Like that's not exactly not hard to figure by what you said what's going to happen to him.
You have seen
thanks for that, Pablo.
You have seen Amazing Spider-Man 1, the reboot that Sony did, right?
Oh, I barely remember the whole thing. I've only seen it once, and that was back in my really heavy drinking days. So no, but
actually, I don't think I've ever seen the whole movie. Either one of those the Amazing Spider-Man ones. Yeah.
Oh, I
Both.
have seen both
Few
of them a
times
couple of times. I will say there are certain parts of Amazing Spider-Man 2 that are actually quite interesting, but the movie is fucking terrible. The first movie, though, has a lot of good.
Andrew
I
Garfield.
feel like there are elements in there of a good movie, and I think, in my opinion, what happened was I think too many writers, as we like to use a classic quote, too many cooks in the kitchen ruin what could have been something good in there, because you see there's good actors, you see there's guys who have good performances, but you have bad ideas amongst good performances. But however, the problem is those bad ideas overpower the good performances. So it doesn't, once it shows you at the end of the day, a good performance, good actor can only go so far if they have bad material to work with, especially when the second movie was ultimately a trailer for other things and not trying to be its own movie. It was trying to be a sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man, while also trying to set up all these other things.
Sinister Six.
Also telling the current story. It was trying to be 3 movies in the sum of 2 hours, and it should have not done that. It was trying to do Sinister Six, a future other Spider-Man. It was just everything about that was just disastrous. It's unfortunate. And it was also trying to adapt Amazing Spider-Man issues 121 and 122 at the same time. So I guess you get, by that technicality, is trying to be 4 things at once. So
by the way, it's exactly the same that happened with Spider-Man 3.
Well,
Spider-Man 3 was exactly the same.
They were trying to bite off, seriously, the amount that they're trying to bite off that more than they can chew. Even Mike Tyson in his heyday, he couldn't pull that shit off.
He couldn't eat all that.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, eat your ear out, Evander Holyfield. This is some shite here. So, anyways, Cormier said all I read as a kid teen was by, hey man, that was my way too. Stephen M. Kell asked much earlier my thoughts on Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy. I mean, obviously great actor, and I think he was fine for the material he was given, but I feel like he could have done better, and I don't fault him whatsoever. I think his heart was in the right place, but I think the material was not. Yeah. So that's my quick thoughts on it, because I do want to give it back to Common so he can round out his thoughts.
I'll even kind of add on to this, as this being my first introduction to Captain Stacy in the comics. Leary's got the look for it, but this isn't, from what I've just experienced in these 4 issues with Captain Stacy, this is not the Captain Stacy that was in those movies. It was kind of one of those Captain Stacy and kind of name only kind of situations. And maybe that's because there wasn't enough, like you said, trying to do too much in too short of amount of time for that movie. You could have made that all into 3 or 4 movies, and guess what? You probably would end up making a lot of money instead of doing all the bullshit you've done now. But that's neither here nor there. But no, like I said, this is just this era in it throughout a lot of these Amazing Spider-Man comics. I mean, this stuff is just like peak comic books. This is what everybody else, strives to be. And this is just a really, really well done issue. Even though, hey, we've got the next big tease of Mysterio being in the next one. And holy shit, everybody knows Mysterio. But even then, this is a great issue on its own. So
Agreed.
Yeah. And it shows you don't have to have a big flashy villain to have a really good issue either.
Yeah, no, it was because once again, these obviously we had a team who tried to make every issue count, whether it was with a big villain or just a more personal story or a filler story. I don't really call them filler because you can have small issues with something going on and it could still matter in the grand scheme of things. But I get why people use that term. But to me, it's not really filler if it adds something important long term. Because people just kind of look at things a little too short term, especially nowadays. The attention span has really sunk in. But that's a story for another day. I do want to add to something you said greatly, Tom. You were talking about earlier how a lot happens just in this issue. And it was the way stories are written in the last, I'd say, 10, 15 years compared to pre-2010. Now, the formatting, the way a lot of the styles have changed. Now, not every single story has done this, but most have, like 95% of them. They have adopted the trade format. They write for the trade, not for the issues. Now, yes, you always had ongoing arcs, but the thing is, you could still read an issue back then, like one of these, be in, be out, if that was all your allowance could afford. But nowadays, you sure get lost or feel penalized just for jumping into something else. It's kind of like the equivalent of saying, oh, I just want to jump in at season 3 of Game of Thrones. You can't do that. You cannot do that.
Well, and there's
this is what they do nowadays with the big three. At least I could jump into any one of these like early ASM issues at any point. And yeah, sure, I'll be missing information, but I could still be entertained by it and still get the most out of it from what I know of it and learning from what I know of it in this issue and still have a good time.
Well, and that's the other thing. I would probably severely argue with someone if they tried to say this was a filler issue, because just because it doesn't have like one of the main big bags to have this overarching great story, I knew from the second the stuff happened with Captain Stacy and Spider-Man and what he was going to have to do to get out of that prison to save Captain Stacy, which loved the t-shirt, by the way. It's one of those things where this was going to reinforce, because from the first few episodes, even the cops have thought he was a menace. Even the cops have thought he was a villain to a certain degree, right? Even though he's rounding up bad guys and dropping them off on their front porch. But I knew with this issue, you were going to get that character growth and that bond between Spider-Man and the cops, showing that he's not a villain because he's saving one of their captains. That's not filler. That's a significant shift in people's thoughts of him. That's a cultural shift around Spider-Man that happens in this issue because he saves a cop. He literally stops a prison break, other than breaking himself out.
And it feeds Captain Stacy's opinion of it too.
Absolutely. There's so much happening in this episode. There's this issue. There's no reason you could call this a filler issue. Not at all.
All right. Well said. And what's up to my guy, Steve Mitchum? I actually got to hang out with Steve on stream for quite a bit of time, the most we ever have since, I've been on YouTube on Mark D with the C Sunday Night Geekery. And that was mostly just me and Mark shooting the shit. But Steve hung out with us for, I think, like an hour. And it was awesome in between our 3 hours and 40 minutes. So Steve's a hell of a dude. And he's being a hell of a great dad, and I hope he keeps at it. And I'm glad he always takes the time to drop in when he can, because I know he drops in when he can, because he's got the dad duties. This is from dad to dad. We got that bond. By the way, Steve, I hear there's a meetup coming in April in Vegas. If I go, I will let you know in advance, because I would straight love to make time to hang out with you, Steve. You and if you want to bring Maddie with, you know me, dad to dad. I don't mind that too. You want to even just have just some simple like burger, In-N-Out burger or a pizza. I don't know, just entertaining ideas.
Great White Castle.
I would love to make time to hang out with you. You and me. If you want to include her, man to man, daughter included, I'd be honored. So I will let you know probably within the next month if if there's a possibility this could happen. If it does, yeah, I'd love to do it. But we'll be in touch. All right, my man. So, guys, are we ready to get into issue 66? Because shit really heats up with
No,
issue
you
66.
are.
Strong containment.
Yeah, Nick's like drooling at the mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Just
He's like, oh, it's my boy Mysterio. Let's see this shit. Let's
I'm telling you, you know.
I do. It's like when I saw that armless cat villain on Twitter the other day. I'm like, oh, Nick would love this. Nick is gonna love this.
I know, right? So I'm just gonna lead off with the majestic cover. The absolute. This is like one of those things you have like a poster of in your room. Type of thing.
It's a great cover.
I love how they took the title from the initial issue that had the Menace of Mysterio, but they swapped out Menace for the Madness of Mysterio. I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. You went from one M to another M, from the Menace to the Madness. So that's a freaking awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's great because this is a Mysterio who now is experienced. He's extra motivated. He's seen defeat and he is tired of it. He wants to make a change. Oh, my guy, Vince. How you doing, Vince? Nice to see you, my guy. Oh,
Vince Womack. What's up, buddy?
Vince Womack. Oh, I love to see it. So, yeah, Mysterio's like, I need to, step up my game. And so he does. He said he decides, he's going to do what they literally did in the movies. And it seems like they're bringing a little bit of it back again. He's going to build a miniature set. And that's his grand master plan against Spider-Man. And I'm like, oh, well, a guy like this, taking an illusion like that, something's up here. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be scary, but I'm ready for it because Quentin Beck, I know what you're capable of, and I'm ready for all your madness. And the best part about it is he's ready to bring it back home to where it started when they first crossed paths. So I guess you could call it a little bit of a homecoming, if you will, a little bit of a homecoming. Okay, I could roll with the homecoming. I love that because on the side of that, Spidey, he gets his clothes picked up from the last issue after the fight with the Vulture. His camera's still intact. His shoulders back, but he has to rest it off. But he's still got 800 issues going on. It's just like, oh crud! Like I still got all these problems, even though this problem is solved. Probably one of my favorite things that happened, though, and I'm gonna bring it down to this, is this moment where Peter's going to JJ, and as he goes to JJ, I seriously. I have to read this because this is important. So I have to read it. You always thought you had me over a barrel because you had the best foods I could buy, huh? Well, not this time, smart guy. Well, you check out on me. I had a staff man snap all the picks I need. So get lost, Parker. You're finished here. And out comes Ned Leeds. Let's talk about, hey, those didn't work out. And you can see JJ's expression here. He was mad because this was his fallback after he had just basically trashed on Parker. He dumped him like a bad boyfriend girlfriend, just says, I'm done with you. And lays it out. And all of a sudden, less than 1 minute later, you want me to see if I can find Parker for you? Don't say it. Don't say it. Not a word. Not a sentence.
The pain.
It's all a dream. A nightmare. I'll still wake up. Oh, the pain. The pain. I feel like Nicolas Cage. Seriously, that was a Nicolas Cage moment JJJ had. I freaking die every time I see this.
So do we need Tom to read this for you?
We do. We need Tom to read this. We really do.
It's funny. I didn't think about it. There's a parallel between the conversation JJ has here with Peter and the same conversation that we had with Gwen just a couple of issues back too, right? Because where she's like, I'm done with you, yada, yada, yada. And because she thinks she knows something that she doesn't know. And then, of course, she gets educated and, of course, switches her tune. And then you see JJ get extra educated and realize that what he's just said was stupid, but it's too late because he's fucked now and his ego won't let him help it.
So she was happy when she found out she was wrong.
Yeah. JJ's pissed.
So yeah. Oh man, I'm having fun with this issue. I'm having a little extra fun with this issue. But yeah, obviously, that happens. It doesn't work out. Peter has to sell off his bicycle, his cycle, because money's tight. He's got issues. And before you know it, Mysterio's popping back up. He's walking amongst them per se. And he runs into Gwen, and he's excited. He even has his name, like, even though like her full name is Gwendoline, but like those, and it seems to be more of a thing of that time, probably from at least I'd say up until maybe the 90s, where boyfriends and girlfriends had like a really cheesy nickname, and his name for her was Gwendy. I was like, oh, that's their cheesy love nickname. And obviously, he's happy. He's over the moon that they're around each other. He's upset because she was all, I thought you were bad type of stuff, and now he's just happy that his life was going downhill. Now things are coming back up. Millhouse, they get to enjoy each other's time.
I love this too. It's such a sweet scene. It's such a touching moment. It shows you the strength of their relationship, the bond, how much they love each other. It's just
this is really when it's like, well, I don't know, going steady or something, because they were kind of dating a little bit before this, and she was getting into him, and then that happened with the brainwash and all that happened. But here, this is when boom. I mean, this is the start of the really serious relationship.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is the bonding point where they're together.
All of us could hope to be as loved as Gwen and Peter are in this very scene right here.
Oh, I know, right? For real, it's touching stuff. It definitely is very wholesome, heartfelt, really brilliantly told. I love it because you really do feel their chemistry. You feel that spark between the two. You're just like, oh man, the electricity is in the air for these two. Yeah, I freaking love it. It's like this is how you take a romantic subplot and you make it entertaining, especially when you have a character that you are already invested in. It is brilliant, absolutely freaking brilliant. And obviously, George and Robbie Robertson have their conversation, discuss their interest in Spider-Man. Peter bumps into Harry. Doesn't go so, not the worst, but definitely not great either. Norman sees a vehicle pull into, well, let's just say a spot he's hiding around at. And, well, he's in the Green Goblin. So, Peter goes in and check out Aunt May. And as he goes in and check on Aunt May, well, she's not happy about what she sees on the TV, and Mysterio's on the TV, and Mysterio is causing all sorts of fake news. It's not good. I hate it. He's trying to make the seem worse than they actually are. Mysterio, Quentin Beck, you are fake news. You're fired. Get out of here. So Peter decides he's going to get out of his Aunt May's spot so he can attend to the business of I just said it like I was talking about in an episode. The business of Mysterio, the madness, the menace, the business of Mysterio. What did I do here with all this?
I don't know, but you gave me an idea of that J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson and Donald Trump should do a scene together.
Oh, the gravity of our
about the
handle that
fake news.
That would be great.
Let's be real. The gravity is not ready. It's just not. I could feel the earth pushing down a little just from you mentioning that, D-Bud. But no, go ahead.
I love how in that with that the relationship between JJ's editor in chief and Captain Stacy. I love how just that very short scene, this is going to lead to the start of a beautiful friendship, of like a beautiful conglomeration between the two of them. And it's just those couple of little scenes they have each other, and they say just all of the right things. And I really liked that. It's one of those small little moments that's really good throughout the entire book. It gives you that great character development. It's the beginning of something. It's that seed. It's the seed planted for something that's going to grow in the future. And I love that.
Yeah, and they're trading notes, and they're on the same page too. You can tell that they got the same feelings about Spider-Man's motivations, certainly. And so they're in sync.
Oh, you damn right, dude. They are in the rhythm with each other. They're singing in the same key is what they're doing. So it's great because obviously after Aunt May doesn't feel so good about what she sees, Peter decides he's gonna go attend to the fight of Mysterio. Oh, hey, I remember this spot. This is kind of where it all started. He gets into the warehouse. Obviously, it's an Admiral Akbar type of trap. And Mysterio has the drop on him on another level because he sets an illusion on him that brings it back to the beginning of this issue, or that miniature set we saw set up. Well, let's just say Mysterio now rules over him, very much in the literal sense. And what an incredible last page. And the greatest feature of my triumph is this: in the few minutes of life which remain for you, you will never really know what has happened to you, or why, or even how. But it no longer really matters. No one who is only 6 inches high can save himself from total annihilation at the hands of Mysterio. What a hell of a way to go out. He has Spider-Man by the freaking balls. This is how you take a continuum apart and be like, damn, this is, for me, this issue alone, this is at least a 9 point something out of 10. I don't know what point, but it's in the 9s for me, because it has a story going forward while still making you feel in the present, while still letting you know what came in the past. Great arc. You get to see a little bit of Peter catch up with his life stuff. Aunt May, Gwen Stacy, recovering from his injury, knowing that he came from his Victor of the Vulture, saying what's going on with Robbie and Captain Stacy, and then Mysterio on a whole other level of ambition and craziness like never before. And then to see Mysterio actually play it out and see it through, and then boom, with a cliffhanger, absolutely fucking awesome 20 pages of comic book storytelling.
And how much out of all that stuff, all those 20 pages, how much action was there? There wasn't a lot.
Not much.
But yet there's so much going on, and you're so engaged because of everything, all the interaction of the characters. It's setting up the story, but you don't really get much action until the very end, and even that, there's not a lot. But it's a great issue.
Yeah, the pacing never seems slow at any point, because there's always so much going on, and there's always so much story movement. So the story is always moving forward, no matter what panel you're on. There's nothing in there that what you would normally consider like quote unquote filler. There's not just some bullshit going on. There's everything's advancing the story, whether it be advancing Peter Parker's love life, advancing the allies that he has that he doesn't even necessarily know that he's got, or pushing forward how crazy fucking JJ is, Jameson is, how fucking crazy he is, so it's really well done. And you couldn't ask for a better finishing panel than this right here, because this is just epic. This is absolutely epic.
Pablo, the floor is yours for your thoughts on this issue, sir.
Okay, when Mysterio is talking about his plan and how he basically got his hands into hallucinogenics on
Mhm.
prison, I was thinking just this, man. If one day I go to prison, I want to go to that prison. They have hallucinogenics that you can get that easy. That's the kind of place for me.
Well, it's just chemistry. You're just mixing chemicals together, and he is a kind of a smart guy.
And who let him? Who's decided to let him work in the pharmacy?
Dude, guys,
You make him make license plates. You keep him away from anything like that.
Yeah.
especially if you think about the effects of this drug. This is some Amorita Muscaria kind of shit. This is Alice in Wonderland kind of shit. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
that's the good shit. That ain't cheap, man. That ain't cheap. No, but seriously, I love the explanations of on a lot of the setups for these stories. I remember when Drago escaped as the Vulture. There's a lot of these moments when you go like, man, the New York police is so incompetent and kind of point, right?
Uh-huh.
Some things never change, Pablo. I promise you that.
Yeah. I love that. I love the whole setup because the guy is not like I developed this machine to fight Spider-Man. He's like, I gonna get him high,
Oh yeah.
and that works. So yeah, simple plans pay up really, really fast. Guy is smart. Man, the whole setup, the whole when Stacy making up with Peter Parker is charming as hell. Uh, that's a couple that I really, really like. I'll be honest, up to I will say maybe 200 something is when Mary Jane starts clicking with me, and it's not until actually they are just about to get married that she actually feels right for being with Peter Parker. And after they get married, I will say that's when she actually becomes a really lovable love interest for the main character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
yeah, when
Yeah.
Stacy was perfect, and I'm really sad that I have heard this a couple of times. I don't know exactly how it happened, but people were complaining about when Stacy. People were not really happy about when Stacy, and she had to go, and that's part of the reason why they killed her. I don't like that decision because when Stacy is really charming, and yeah, there's a bit of extra drama, especially with her dad, but that actually makes the relationship more enduring when they are together. And this is one of those moments because Peter's heart was absolutely destroyed in the last couple of issues because yeah, he thought that she will never forgive him for something that he didn't do really for harming her or her dad. He was trying to help. He was trying to snap Captain Stacy out, and actually, Captain Stacy is the one that attacked him first. So it was self-defense, and actually, he was trying to snap Captain Stacy.
Mhm.
He was doing good, but no good deeds go unpunished, as the Green Goblin said. And well, he was paying the price, even though that when Stacy already forgave him, so he didn't knew. He was just heartbroken. He was destroyed, and that moment of reconciliation is just so sweet, so absolutely perfect. Of course, there's a joke that happens later, and that's a couple of issues later that makes it even better because we know that Mary Jane is chasing after Peter too. And she has been going through town trying to get him, and she's pissed. Because,
Mhm.
well, ain't pity here, so.
I was gotta fight the goblin, but I got high.
Oh, man, Peter is really good at chemistry, and for a time he was into organic chemistry. That was the actually I think is his degrees on engineering or in organic chemistry. I don't remember.
I
He
think biochemistry is what he went into.
Yeah,
But
biochemistry.
as a grad student,
So
yeah.
he actually graduates, as I recall, and he is really good on. If you are good on biochemistry, you can do opioids and you can do actual DMT homebrew that will kick your ass. It will blow your mind away. Well, Mysterious better. What can we say? No, the whole setup is great. The only thing is that, yeah, not much really happens. So if you are talking about action about the fight, next issue is the key. Next issue is just them going into blows and
It's
quite a good trip.
great. Well, this issue is necessary
Yeah,
to get to that issue. You
exactly.
need this. It's the yin to the yang.
Is the pacing, and that's something that is now lost even in manga. I will say 90% of manga doesn't even understand the key factor of having good pacing and having character development, and this issue was just character development and setting up things, setting up the Green Goblin, setting up Mysterio, setting up the things that are happening. Everything is calm, the storm is brewing. So you have these good moments. You have the conversation between Robbie and Jay Jonah, the conversation between Robbie and Captain Stacy. You get a bit of Peter and he thinking how to deal with his sound, and then he actually has to think about, well, she got so worried that she is bedridden again. What the hell am I doing? I need money. Before that, I need money. He sells his bike. I have been in that situation a couple of months ago. My country went through shit, and I had to sell a lot, and I mean a lot of precious things to me. And I was reading Peter saying, it's only half of what I paid. And the guy is saying, I have to make profit, man. I was like, fucking hell. I feel that. I feel that deeply.
Hey, I had that on both sides between having to sell things and having people come into my store and selling things that they didn't really want to, but they needed the money. And it was kind of hard. There was some people was like, man, this is really tearing this guy up to sell this. And I'm like, geez, I wish he'd come back and buy it back for me. I'd like selling it back to him what I paid him for it.
Sell it back to him at cost.
Oh yeah, I mean, one guy, he sold me some basketball card sets that he spent, a good deal of time putting together. They were beautiful, and I mean, I could see he was ready. He was practically going to cry when he sold them, but he needed the money. It was kind of hard buying it from him.
Reading that panel, I felt like, to be honest, I felt like the moment when I sold my OG Super Nintendo. I still have a mini, one of the second releases of the Super Nintendo, not the mini, the one that they released a few years ago. No, I mean, they had the Super Nintendo and then they had the compact version. But the compact version, you cannot really mod it for a HDMI. You cannot mod it for SCARF. There's a couple of ports that are missing, so you cannot really use it at its full potential on current day. And I had to sell the OG. The OG, you can do wonders with it. The plastic was still on really good shape, not that yellowed. It was just wash it with ammonia and it will be absolutely pristine. I didn't go to retrobrite it because I had to sell it, and that was hard. And that was last year. This year, games went, and games are worse than a console because those you cannot get in the wild anymore. It was a fucking bitch. I will say that panel. And then Mysterio appears, and one of the guys in the story is like, "Oh yeah, I tried to give him money to go away. He didn't care about the money." And I like, well, yeah, he's on a revenge quest, but once he understands that for his revenge he will need, I don't know, tools and materials, he will be back. Keep that cash on hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a cool setup. It was a really nice couple of moments, and at the
Super
end,
necessary.
yeah, you just make a question to Spider-Man. Wanna get high?
All right. So we're gonna get to issue 67. Holy crap, this issue is a fucking hell in a cell of issues. Like,
Oh yeah.
this is like if the first issue was the build up, the promos that lead up to the big match at WrestleMania. This issue is WrestleMania. This issue is WrestleMania. And you have a good main event when the cover is this. Once again, another knock it out of the park cover with the Mysterio hands like that. Dude, absolutely astonishing.
And-
I have
and
to
this is
emphasize
like-
that word. Go ahead.
This is like Hell in a Cell.
It is.
At
It's straight up,
WrestleMania.
it
It's
is.
Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. This is the main event. This is Hell in a Cell. This isn't even about a championship. This is a feud, and one of the guys is taking it extra personally because of the many defeats he has had before. And this is him stepping up another level. Sorry, no, a few levels to get his grand win. And he's taking him to higher levels, over the ropes, to places never been done before. In this case, it's not actually a grander scale, it's a smaller scale, albeit a much scarier smaller scale for our hero, Spider-Man. It is absolutely freaking great because it is nonstop. It is constant. It is every time. It's like it's a different angle. It's a whoa, 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 whoa. Spidey is at the mercy just by trying to keep his breath, just by trying to make sure he can even stay on his feet at every move that Mysterio does, because it's clear that he thought this through. He had a plan. He was ready to take this guy down. This was the be-all, end-all. This is the all hands on deck, putting up all the stops Mysterio. Like, this is like the story that, like, in my opinion, should have like elevated him to be. I guess you could say he already is considered a classic film, but to me, this is the story that really should be even more seriously with the Cravens, the Green Goblins, the Doc Ock, because you see what he did. And Spidey was losing it because, you need to have that split second moment to think, but he did not have that with Mysterio, because this is a Mysterio who took Batman levels of preparation to be ready for him, because technically I don't have any powers. I have stuff that could do things to an extent, but a lot of it is literally theater. So how do I do this against a superhuman? And this is how you take a guy who's just a guy and have him go up against a powered individual and sell you on the concept. It is great because you see all the traps, all the things that would be like, oh damn, this is literally what could get him killed. Like, whether it's in the glass traps, it is like, oh, hold on, there's like an alligator type of thing, and then there's the sinking in the water. It's just go, 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 go. And Spidey starts to catch on to patterns as this is going on. And once he finally starts to put two and two together, he knows what he needs to do in order to get that win on Mysterio. And once he's on to Mysterio, well, Mysterio, you had a good run, a very impressive run. You were a player and a team that was on its way to making the World Series. However, now that you're in the World Series and you got through the playoffs, you're going to lose the World Series. You may have the seventh inning, but I'm going to take you out at the bottom of the freaking ninth, Mysterio. No. You don't get this anymore. You are better than you usually are. This is like if the Mets actually had a chance against the Yankees. but the Yankees were like, not so fast. Not so. You surprised me. You got me a little bit. I'll give you that. But no. At the end of the day, Spider-Man still wins. The Yankees still win. And there's even small hints of subplot, but really it's dominantly run by this fight between Spider-Man and Mysterio.
Oh, yeah.
And
There's
it's an
tiny
entertaining.
amount of subplot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
very
like
good in
maybe
this
2
one.
pages total.
Yeah.
The rest of it's this entire Mysterio battle.
It's
That
a
panel,
nonstop
okay,
action.
that panel, and a lot of these panels, they took as inspiration for Far From Home, and the fight with Mysterio, where Mysterio kicks Spider-Man ass, is actually really good because they took a lot from here, and that sensation of Spider-Man enclosed in walls made of mirror and everything,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was absolutely perfect, but the comic makes it better.
Oh, of course. I mean, you don't have to worry about the budget. Also, it is what perfected the sequence. It really was the story that perfected the sequence. And there's some art on here that really stands out. Like this is probably my favorite panel. This is like one of the things I want to highlight. I see this where he says a circle that's closing in on me. If I can't break free, I'm done for. And usually Spider-Man doesn't feel like he's in a position where he feels threatened for his life with Mysterio. Usually that's something for Doc Ock or the Green Goblin or Craven. But this time it was Mysterio. That's how close this was for
and I like the dark
Mysterio.
darkness and the
Right?
inking on it. That's Jim Mooney's. I mean, you can see that his stuff. Yeah, that hashing and all that stuff. Jim Mooney's great at doing that sort of inking, and he's got that kind of the light sources from above. You can see how his mask and his chest is dark. That's a really beautiful panel.
And this is one of the things I always complain about with modern comics. Whether wherever they come from. I've talked about this before. This is one of those things like this is what makes it look good. These flat panels they have, these one color layers and all that other kind of stuff. Like it can't hold a candle to this shit. This looks a million times better than anything we see these days.
It's
because like the only time you see effort like this put into anything in the modern era is in covers. This is an interior. Okay. And there's this much detail in here. Nobody puts in that kind of effort nowadays. It's rare to see that kind of effort put into anything these days.
Yeah. And in common, you were right. You're absolutely nailing it. The detail, once again, page for page, panel for panel. I feel on edge with Spider-Man. He gets the glass. He gets the alligator. He has to think like he's never thunk before while being quick about it. He has to be at the swing of the axe of things as I'm scrolling down. And Mysterio, man, this was a hell of a fight. I was just like, wow. It's seriously like it was straight up breathtaking for me. Like I was like, Keanu Reeves, your breath would have been taken aback by this issue, sir. You would have felt the intensity from this one. Like
Mysterio's like never letting me like breathe, man.
I swear. No, I was trying to be all nice saying you're breathtaking, but the problem is he's taking my breath away. I didn't expect it to come back around. That was supposed to be for all of you guys.
No, you're breathtaking. And you.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely incredible issue. It's a fight from beginning to damn and it has a great ending. It feels like the right moment, and does victory never taste sweeter? This is where if Spider-Man were a big time matcha drinker, this would be the one where he go out with the boys and have a celebration win that he won the championship type of win fight at this, because holy crap, what a freaking win for our hero. I was so happy for him, and New York's Finest luckily came back and collected the scraps, and it was one of my favorite victories for Spider-Man, not only yet at this point, but ever in all my Spider-Man reading history. This is one of my favorite wins of his ever. And this issue for me, I'm probably gonna at least lean on at least a 9.9 on this issue from the story, the pacing, the details, the fact that it just pays off everything of what we saw in the previous issue and what came before, and the continuity of everything that led up to every fight with Mysterio from before. I love the story. And for also being imaginative and using the extra brain power to sell you on this concept as well. This issue is an absolute gem. And one day I'm going to own this single issue individually along with 66. And I'm going to have a next to a wall that has Fancy Dan and the Condor and Slide. It's going to be diabolical. It's going to be damn diabolical. All right, Common, why don't you go on for this issue?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like we talked about in the beginning, this is the Hell in the Cell match for Spider-Man, and that ending, leaving it on a cliffhanger, right where you're introducing him to it, and it's like, and I was thinking about this in the beginning because Pablo brought up the whole psychedelic aspect of this too. It was funny. It's like the only thing missing from this scene is like the machine elves. He needs like machine elves coming after him at some point. But like, I love that scene where yes. Where he gets like he jumps through the window thinking he's gonna find somewhere to hide, and he goes, "Damn, that was stupid. Mysterio was gonna be here." And I love the two. There's a lot of great foreshadowing where Spider-Man's constantly going, "Why is he trying to keep me constantly moving? Why is he constantly on this? Why am I never getting a break?" And you get that payoff at the end as to why, right? Because Mysterio's thought he was gonna, because it's there's been documented cases of people like extreme taking like bad batches of LSD and stuff like that and literally going insane because they had a bad batch, and something really hurt them. And it's like you could tell that's kind of Mysterio's intent, because he's like, "Why aren't you breaking? You should have lost your mind by now." That's constantly repeated throughout the entire thing. What's taking so long? And it's Spider-Man's just will to keep moving forward. It's showing the strength of his character that he was able to overcome this, because no matter what Mysterio threw at him, he's going to keep coming at you. He's going to keep getting back up. He has friends and he has loved ones that he needs to get back to. He's got people he needs to save. And I know it's been said probably a million times, and I know it gets even worse the later the comics go on. But dude, I'm already sick of the Aunt May fucking weak act like all the time. Like she sees a news story about Mysterio and has a fainting fucking spell. I'm like, dude, this lady needs to be locked up in a nursing home, need to be a lot not looked at by like any news media, like doctors around her 24/7. She needs to be in like a nice little fluffy little padded room with like with little pink bunnies around her. Cause like, I'm already kind of over this. Like, I'm already kind of over this whole fucking everything's like Aunt May's freaking out and almost dying
back then.
They did, but it was the insane asylum.
Like that,
Is what it was back then. Yeah, it was the insane asylum. But like, it's just like take this woman's TV away from her. Don't let her read newspapers. Don't let her leave the house. Like this is getting a little low. And it's like, and I know it's not Aunt May trying to be dramatic, right? It's the storytellers trying to be dramatic, because it reminds me of my grandmother. It's like every time something happened, she'd have an absolute meltdown. You know what I mean? A lot of the time, especially as she got older in her age. And even though there was no reason to have a meltdown, it's like now and everybody else it's like everybody's reflecting their Aunt May is like the meltdown for everybody, even though she doesn't want to be melting down. It's just she's just such a frail flower. She's such a frail flower that like every little thing freaks her out. So I'm like, I'm already kind of done with that.
I have a theory. Wasn't this the time when they started to add fluoride in water?
Well, is Aunt May alive in the comics right now? I don't know.
Fuck,
did they kill her off? Is she back? Because I can imagine her now she must be like constantly texting and DMing Peter going, "Where are you? Why haven't you called me all day?"
Right? Like she's got a GPS tracker on his ass, like ultimate helicopter mom. You know what I mean? Like,
I tracked I'm tracking your phone to find out where you're at, and I noticed you're right in the middle of Dr. Octopus's, secret headquarters. What are you doing there?
Well, now we know that she may be paranoid about a couple of things because, well, maybe there's an organization trying to chase the son of a couple of well-known double agents or something like that. That could be a good way to explain why she's so paranoid, but let's be honest, the woman is just absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
The guy is on college. He's that she knows she's targeted by 2 women,
Well, it's like,
and she's still like, he's a baby. That
Well,
baby has a supermodel and a genius trying to get his dick. Maybe, just maybe, he's a man
that's
now.
her little boy.
That's
Well,
her
of
little
course
boy
she's
now.
gonna see it that way.
Yeah.
That's his
Yeah, that's
freaking
her
aunt. She
little boy.
raises him like a mom. Of course she's gonna.
Yeah, but it's like at one point, why doesn't Peter just go? Aunt May. I take pictures for the Daily Bugle. I was downtown and but I was at a safe distance. Aunt May, it's okay. The camera's got a really nice zoom on it. That's what I've been busy running around taking pictures, trying to make a buck to get me through college.
That's no excuse not to call me.
Right? Yeah, right. Exactly. Except for when I do call you, you freak out because I can't tell you where I am right now. And it's like you had Peter, for such a genius. Sometimes you're a dumbass. You could have been like, look, Aunt May, I'm right in the middle of working on some stuff for the Bugle right now. I've got to go take these pictures. I just want to call. I just want to check you in. I just want to make sure you can hear our voice. I'm okay. I'm alive, but I've got to run right now. I've got to grab this shot right now of this stuff that's going down. Like it's just like for some of that stuff, it's like, kind of dumb.
You also got to remember this is at a time where not
biochemistry.
everything was so instantaneous. You got to also remember that too. This is at a time where you couldn't just get a hold of everyone at any time in any place. You got to remember that we didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't even have car phones. Even not everyone even had a landline. Some people didn't even have phones. And I knew people who had no phones in the 90s. I know people who had no phones, period, not even a landline. So this was that waiting to get a hold of someone was sometimes a lot more suspenseful. I remember what those times
This is
were.
the 60s, right?
It was also a lot more common for you to go. It was also a lot more common for you to go days or weeks without hearing from somebody. Too.
Yes, and this was something that was, and it was not used to because, like a parent, she's used to having him around.
Right,
but
maybe there could be a better.
I have an idea. Okay, this is a simple idea to get her out of his back. Where have you been? I was doing drugs. Do you want some? That's all you need to say.
Never going to happen in this comic ever. No, Pablo. This is Spider-Man.
Do you want to get rid of an old
She would
school
order
lady?
him to move out of that apartment with Harry, move back in with her.
Oh, dude, he'd be under lock and key for the rest of his life.
He'd have to sneak out in the middle of the night. He'd only be able to be Spider-Man in the middle of the night.
That's the worst idea ever, Pablo. You're full of horrible ideas. The internet really has ruined you. If it wasn't for your editing skills, I'd take away your internet privileges, Pablo.
Let's be honest. Aunt May does need some drugs.
She definitely needs to smoke a joint. That's fact. She definitely needs to smoke a joint, man.
Whatever Mysterio is dealing, she needs double dose.
Yeah, Aunt May needs a little drop of that. Let her help her with some of those anxiety issues she's got. Help her not worry so much. Because then that's funny too. Because when Peter describes when he initially goes in the last issue, this is something we kind of glazed over, but when he initially goes in, it's just like, he's like, I'm feeling floaty. I'm feeling light. I'm feeling like I shouldn't have a care in the world. Well, it's a lot of psychedelics are like that when in that little phase where you're going in. My God, I always sound like such a drug addict when I say this shit. Look, I've researched a lot. I'm an information junkie. Leave me alone. Trust me, I only mess with things I'm very well aware of before I get into it. And I also believe I mess with the things that God put in the ground. So, but it's like that you hear that described a million times with all this kind of stuff. It's like he was literally going into a psychedelic trip. And considering when these were written, I guarantee you somebody in that office over there at fucking Marvel Comics had messed with that stuff. They knew exactly what that sensation was supposed to feel like when they wrote it into that comic. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
You got anything else you want to add, comment?
No, it's just it's really well done. Like you said, it's a great one. It's just there's so much depth, there's so much knowledge. I love watching the springboard knife fire back at him too. I loved that idea. That was when his first idea of that things were. That's when he first kind of solidified the idea that not everything in here was as it seems. Is when he got a hold of that knife and figured out what he could do with it, and that's when everything I think fully kind of clicked in his brain. And it's just really well done. A hell of an action scene. I mean, this is a scene that needs to be done properly in like live action and watched on like the biggest IMAX screen you can find. Like even if they just animated this, watching this in good animation, just rip these panels out, get artists to mimic everything that they've done, and just make like, you know, you could turn it into an, you could just expand the action a little bit and do like an hour long of this, and it would sell like hotcakes, because this would be amazing on an IMAX screen.
It's
I
really
agree.
sad
Ooh,
if you
yeah.
think Defoe is the perfect Green Goblin. He's the absolute greatest Green Goblin that you can have, especially in No Way Home. If you think about, God damn it, I don't remember the name of the guy that did Sandman on Spider-Man 3. But
Thomas Hayden Church.
Yes.
yeah, he is great. He's absolutely perfect. The guy that did Quentin Beck,
Jake Gyllenhaal.
yeah, he was not great. Sorry, the costume was absolutely perfect. Was on
costume
point.
was great.
They've
But
never had a good
acting?
Flash in live action either. Their Flashes have sucked in live action. Or maybe I'm thinking Eddie. Their Flashes and their Eddie Brocks.
On the Tobey Maguire movies, that Flash was kinda good, but they didn't use him for the rest of the movie. So he was just at the beginning, and he was just generic bully.
That was it.
Yeah.
But I think the body build was absolutely perfect. The way that he treated Peter was absolutely perfect. But they chickened out of getting him to become Peter's friend. Especially now that we are seeing that he's sending letters from Vietnam, and he's talking about Peter as he was his friend and everything, because he's starting to mature, because he's seeing so much shit that guy that was really mellow and a bit nerdy, that guy was cool as fuck. He knew how to relax. And I'm seeing people dying here. I want to see that guy. I want to drink a beer with that guy. That transformation of Flash is really important. And you didn't get that on the movies. So you get the bully, you don't get the man. And Flash as a man is really interesting, because he's one of those kind of guys that has seen so much shit that he's just like, you're chill, I like you. And that's all you need.
Core member, is this a joke?
No, he's joking, but I literally almost spit my drink out when he said that.
Because I actually believe that. That seriously seems like a headline from the Babylon Bee.
Dude, Aunt May has had spider powers.
Would totally do that. Current Marvel What If would totally do that.
No,
well,
but
Core member was talking about the old Spider-Man cartoon, and do you know that they adapted that Mysterio story in the old 1967 Spider-Man cartoon?
Oh yeah.
They did it. It was in the it was in the boxy part.
Episodes.
Yeah, it wasn't in the first season. It was the second season that Ralph Bakshi did the animation, and he's not in the Mysterio costume.
Oh.
He's just it's just you just see him as a guy, but the plot is the same otherwise.
Wow.
Well, that makes it pointless then if you didn't put him in the costume.
Yeah.
No, I've been eyeing it. There's a box set of it. I think it was on eBay. I've been eyeing it. I'm like, man, I'm so expensive. It is.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it.
If you get the original series plus Spider-Man and Friends, that's a killer.
As long as I get the 60s, I'm good. Anything beyond that's gravy, but that 60s and Spectacular, I'm good. Anything else after that, because those are Spectacular, then the 60s, then the animated series.
90s. Yep.
Then Amazing Friends would be fourth, with the 70s show being in fifth. That would be my ranking. But
I have heard that the Spectacular Spider-Man is really good.
Oh, dude, it's fantastic. It's my favorite Spider-Man show.
I
originally would not give it a shot because the animation style was very
off-putting
for me.
Yeah.
And then I kept hearing about how great it was. And the only thing I guess you could say it lacks compared to the 90s animated series, it doesn't really delve deep into the larger Marvel universe. However, on the flip side, the action is supremely better, and the storytelling is seriously incredible. It has that lighthearted atmosphere of the early Spider-Man comics as well. Thank
doesn't
you,
have
Blason. Yeah,
Shocker?
Gwen is great. Oh, I love the Shocker episode.
That reminds me.
The voice acting is great too. I love the voices are great. It's so fun. The action is good too. The action spectacular is the most Spider-Man-like action of the cartoons. It is. You seriously, it's 2 seasons too short. That should have been like a 5-season, 6-season type of show. Like as long as they're riding on the high still, of course. But in an ideal setting with quality maintaining, at least 5 or 6 seasons. It was a shame.
Nick.
And they were going to do a 3rd season, but a lot of BS came up that prevented that shit from happening. Even though it did well. It did well. And that it wasn't a low ratings issue, but they had other stupid complications. And just for you, I'm gonna do it.
Back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of
the earth.
Hey, Nick, check the group chat today because I was doing the whole stuff with phone carrier. I went to a mall, and in the mall, obviously, there's a toy store.
Shocker!
So look on the group chat for the
I'm
show.
gonna get it up.
Yeah, he's been drinking, but it's okay. He's got it. I got faith in him.
Still got it.
He's still got it. He's still got it.
Still got it.
No, but there's the Spectacular Spider-Man I've never seen. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and watch that now. But yeah, I love Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and maybe it's just because I had a thing for Starfire because redheads. But like, yeah, I loved that.
Dude, I had the original figure of Shocker from the 90s series. I loved it, and I almost feel like I want to get that one again. I lost it or it got given away. I don't know which one it was, but I had that one. I need to seek that one out again and get this one just to like fully redeem myself. The Shocker was my second Spider-Man villain figure I had. The Lizard was my first.
There's a reason why I need this
talk
figure.
about my virginity. The Lizard was my first.
There's a reason why I need this figure. Remember, I have the Venom, the symbiote Spider-Man from the animated series.
Yeah.
So obviously, I need a Shocker.
Is that Shocker from the Spider-Man animated series
Yep.
in the 90s?
Is the animated series.
Why does that costume look like way too V-cut? I don't know. Something about it.
I don't know.
Either way, back to Amazing Spider-Man.
Yep.
D-Bud.
Oh,
You're
this
gonna have
I got
that
some
with
thoughts
this
on this
issue,
episode. On this
and then
issue.
Pablo will. So take it away, sir.
Well, a couple of things about this story. This is actually the first part of essentially a 10-issue story arc. This is probably the longest story arc they had in Marvel Comics for years. It starts off with the Kingpin is the returning villain in this, but it's showing this ancient tablet that has been discovered, and that they're trying to decipher it, and it's moving around to different universities and such so they can examine it and also display it as for in their museums. And this clay tablet is part of there's an ongoing thread through the next really 8 issues about that tablet, and then at the end of that, the next couple issues kind of continue on from the last story of that. So this is the start of a 10-issue story arc that's going on here.
I didn't realize it was going to go for that long. That's really cool because the end of that one, it kind of leads off into like the next, it's another to be continued again, which I mean,
it's not like a 10-issue long, continuing cliffhanger story.
Right.
It's just all these. It's just this continuing thread of that tablet just continues on through the next 8 issues.
I love that.
And then the end of that leads into the next story after that, which is 2 more issues. So it kind of flows through 10 issues all through all this. That's that's one thing that this issue is. It's a start of this clay tablet story.
You know what will be really cool? Reading this issue about a tablet in a tablet.
And on a tablet, yeah. You could do that. And then the other thing about the story is it's sort of based on real events, some part of it, because it's involving a campus protest. Pete he's going back to school, finally. He's been too busy going around being Spider-Man. So he goes back to campus, and there's a student protest there about a dorm that they're going to make for the rich kids, and so all the other students are protesting because it should be for lower income students. And now he's going to Empire State University. Well, ESU is really supposed to be Columbia. The real university is Columbia University, which is in Manhattan. It's in New York City.
Columbia makes so much sense for this.
Yeah, that's exactly what ESU is. And there was a protest earlier because this story came out in, I think it was October of '68. I think it was when it was published. And in, I think it was March or April of that year they had a big campus protest at Columbia. And part of the protest, it was, of course, a lot of it was the Vietnam War, which was going on at the time in the draft. But they were also doing a protest they were building I think a gymnasium, and so they went there and occupied it, and the police actually wound up coming in and having to break up, and they arrested hundreds of students. And I think one of them was actually, if I read correctly, was Samuel L. Jackson was one of the protesters.
No shit.
And a little full circle there, but. Yeah, so it was the inspiration for that aspect of this story. So it's based on real events. But the tablet is the main part of the villain story in this, because the Kingpin, it's this incredibly expensive artifact. It's been recently discovered. It's worth zillions of dollars. So of course the Kingpin has to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's worked out a plan. It's like I can get that while it's here, because it's coming right here to the ESU, which is here in the city. And he like he goes. He has this little workout because he's got to, I got to keep in shape. So he's got this band of goons that he's hired to spar with, and he takes them out in 4 panels.
Fucking mollywops the rat, bro.
You all
fools out of them. It was hilarious how he rubbed it in their faces to the after he did it.
He beats them up in a few panels and says, "You're all fired."
Yeah, you're all stuck. There's 8 of them, and the best part is they all get paid based on how long they can stick to him. They didn't last 5 fucking seconds, dude. Yeah. That was, I always love that whenever you get to see that with Kingpin, right? Because that's always the observation you make by looking at him, right? And he even expresses that in these panels and does a really good job of showing that off. The guy is literally just nothing but one giant fucking muscle is all he is, you know? And so he looks like that, and it's always so much fun to just watch him whop the shit out of people.
That's something that actually Spider-Man gets kind of astonished in this issue. That he's like, I'm always surprised about how strong he is. And then he has to unleash a whole barrage of full force hits into him to knock him out, or not even knock him out, because the Kingpin recovers almost immediately. He can take punches from a guy that is almost as powerful as the Hulk, according to what the comics of this era said. So the Kingpin, you need to do sumo, man. Apparently, sumo and superpowers are kind of the same.
Oh, we got an appearance from Mr. Lillman 007. How's it going? Thank you for dropping in. D-Bud, as you're going, or did
Yeah,
you have your?
Oh yeah, he's yeah. I kind of I find it funny though that the kingpin. I mean, part of his plan is he uses the students' protests at the
Mhm.
university. He said, "Oh, that's perfect cover too. Not only is it here at the university, but we've got this protest. I can blame the whole thing on them, and I can just get in and out and take it,
It
even though
sounds like a
people will
story from
see
today.
him." Yeah, yeah, but it's like, why would he just be that bold as to let everybody see him do it? Because that's kind of plenty of witnesses saying, yeah, the Kingpin's the guy who stole it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a good scene here on the with Peter and Gwen.
It's my favorite panel here
Yeah.
because of what he says when he says,
And what she says.
oh, and that's what I mean. Her response to it first,
Yeah.
when she's like, Mary Jane's the first girl you thought of, and she's like, well, she's more the guessing who type, and he says, don't tell me I found the words, make you jealous, and she says, negative. I don't have a jealous bone in my body, but mention her again and watch the roof fall in. So
I
she
love it.
should have contradicted
love it,
herself in
I
the
love that.
same panel. I loved that panel. I was like, this is straight up. That's so fucking romantic. Even I'm moved by that shit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and then they
son
have
of a
more
bitch,
of that
they got
really
me.
as they, later on after they go and visit Aunt May because she's being frail again, is common lamented. And they stop by and Aunt May sees them and says, "Oh, you two you look like you're so in love. I didn't know it was so serious between you two."
Right.
She's the one trying to break that relationship to get him with his best friend.
Right. Yeah.
Mary
She was all
Jane.
pushing for Mary Jane. And then she sees, oh, well, he's really into this other girl, but he looks so happy.
Yeah, they look so happy. And she's beautiful. Gwen
Oh,
Stacy's
yeah.
fucking gorgeous, man. It's not, you're not going to complain either way, which way you land, man. You're just really not.
Oh, and you've made her so happy. And as soon as you leave, oh, I think I'm dying again.
I know.
Oh, damn, I had to call the doctor.
Yeah, because she's like, Matt was like, why didn't you tell him we had to call the doctor? He's like, they just seem so happy. I didn't want to ruin their day.
I didn't want
She's
to
just trying to survive until she can see her red-haired great nephews, and then she will gladly go to the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Which means that man's never going to die in the modern comics.
Yeah,
that's right.
You got
Fuck that Gunslinger.
go ahead and add to it, D-Bud, or are you good, my dude?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great little fight at the end. Like Paulo was mentioning how it's beaten on the Kingpin. He has to just keep on walloping him to get him to go down. And even then he just is kind of just winded for a second, but he's still crafty enough to use he's using the students for cover a little bit, and he's able to use what's all the distractions going on to swipe the tablet and causes the ceiling to crash down on Spider-Man with his cane, and thinks, oh, maybe I took him out that way, but he's thinking, oh, I got a clean getaway now. But of course, Spidey gets out and manages to see the car and starts taking off after him. They spot him, so this is going into the next issue. But yeah, this is just the a lot of this, like I said at the beginning, is they kind of wanted to base this on real events with the Columbia protests that happened.
Well,
and this is their way of kind of showing that, and they're also kind of showing a little bit of the conflict between people that are protesting, where you have like Peter's going, well, I want to hear the other side. I want to hear what the dean has to say. I'm just going to fall in with your protest. And they kind of, oh, well, you're a chicken. And
How dare you on
Yeah.
your two sides of the story before you make up your own conclusion?
right.
Yeah.
You just need to fall in line and do whatever we say you're supposed to do.
Well,
Like
and
a
they
cult.
it
then-
is, and they literally. And I don't know if you're gonna go ahead, D-Bud. I'll let you
no,
finish.
but they kind of do the same thing here. You've got in this panel here,
Yeah.
you've got Robbie's son is like, well, and they're start talking crap about his father.
They call his
your
fucking
father's
dad
not
Uncle
with
Tom. Yeah. What the
Oh,
fuck?
dude, I saw that. I'm like, Robbie Robertson's one of the most successful, respectable guys. And you're gonna go dare do that shit to our guy?
But
We
that's
love Robbie.
Yeah, well, that's really
that-
make me fall in line with you guys for you to insult my father.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that shows you, I mean, that because guarantee you this was people that were aware of the protests, were aware of the people that were involved in this kind of stuff, the way they talked, the way they conversated, and everything else. And guess what? It's no different now than what it was back then. A successful black man is considered a betrayer to the cause, right? Just like it's the exact same slam they use against the same. And guess what? Eric July will tell you the worst insults he hears is from people on the other side. He gets called that by those people all the
Some of
time.
this
It's
stuff,
because
wow.
it's because you break the stereotype and you're successful. That automatically means you're a fucking sellout. And so they call you an Uncle Tom. It's the biggest bunch of fucking hypocritical, like selfish. They're jealous is what it comes down to. They're jealous because you've been able to succeed and they'd rather sit around on their asses and blame the man for the reason why they can't fucking succeed. Some things
The man
never
is an
change.
enemy that they need to keep going to keep their causes going, because if the man is not there, then they have no reason to exist.
Yeah. Literally hasn't changed since when the time this comic was written to the wokies we deal with.
But this
now.
comic was well told on that. The fact that Peter wanted to hear both sides, and you still had Robbie still being put in a very respectable light. And I love that they show this. This shows you can take these types of subjects and you can make a story that still entertains first and still have this. And also, this alone, this is probably the very second issue, and I have to emphasize the word second issue before I give it back to D-Bud, that we cover, I guess you could say, a social topic. Because one other issue did that prior to this, but that issue, it was like a few pages. So when anytime someone wants to talk about comics are always, I guess you could say, social political, that's not true. You could say on and off times we have had it on and off throughout time, but on and off is still dramatically different from always. Because if you're to say always, you're at to really commit to that argument. And that argument can be easily dismantled just from one run of something like this. Because you're talking 2 issues out of 68 issues, and only in one of those issues is it very prominent in the story. Whereas the one of the 2 issues, it was a few pages. That's not always. Now you can make an argument that there are comics where politics has dominated that comic, sure, but that still doesn't dominate comics as a whole being always. So,
and this isn't, they argue that comics have always been political because they use that as an excuse to justify them shoving their political ideologies into comics.
Yeah.
This is not a comic being political. This is a comic going, these are real life things that happen. This is part of our culture. Protests happen, especially on fucking college campuses. Those kids are so bored and so fucking entitled. They're always finding something to protest about. And go ahead, D-Button, because
at that time they certainly had a lot of protests, mainly about the draft and the Vietnam War. But they, like in this, they're not really pushing one side or the other.
They're not even referencing.
Really. They're kind of things. I mean, like with Peter, they're questioning. Well, wait a minute, what's the dean's side of this? Because I mean, your side, it's like, we need more student housing for lower income students. Yeah, sounds reasonable, but you've got this. What is the dean's thing on this? Oh, this is just for the rich students or whatever. It's like, well, but what's the full story?
Yeah.
You don't really know what the full story is, and so can you really make a judgment as to what side's right or wrong? You can show that maybe their methods might not be right with this, though. And certainly the way some of them behave, is this going too far when they're doing some of these things? but it's not forcing one way to or the other to you. And of course, nowadays they just, this is the opinion you need to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they were much more subtle about things back in the day.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you had issues where it emphasized on it, but once again, it didn't dominate entire run. And the few comics where it was a consistent topic don't represent all of comics either. That's another thing too. It's once again where they like to use the whole convenient argument. It's just like, okay, let's just say X-Men always was, just for the sake of conversation.
Which of course we know isn't true.
Yeah, but there's a good amount. But let's just pretend that it is. X-Men doesn't sum up every comic. X-Men isn't Moon Knight. X-Men isn't Daredevil. X-Men isn't Spider-Man or Fantastic Four or Captain America, Hulk or Iron Man or any of the 800 other DC titles or indie comics titles. So it's just like, okay, X-Men always being political is very different from comics as a whole being political. You gotta get your argument straight, because X-Men, as historically relevant as comics have been, don't represent comics as a whole. Now, they're an important part, and obviously their contributions to comics as a medium can never be denied, and rightfully so. We've read some really great stories on here last year, but they are not the only story in comics.
Right.
I could go all day with how many comics don't. Just look at the Teen Titans run. Just take the first volume of Wolfman and Perez, when it was called the New Teen Titans, before it becomes Tales of the Teen Titans, before it launches volume 2. In that 40 something issues or 60 something, you have maybe 2 issues where they talk about their political leanings, but it's a few panels. Those few panels don't take up the entire issue. They don't take up the entire run. Don't tell me that comics have always been political, because to be always political is to, actually always be political. You'll have to actually see government involvement in every issue. You'll actually have to see the talking of bills in every issue. You'll have to see debates in every issue. Don't lie to me with that trash.
Yeah, because it's not the same thing as literally having Superboy lead a protest for climate change. Okay, which is something they've done in the modern era. Okay, because this is dealing with a general protest about a general cultural thing that happens. This is not going after specific real world politics. It's not like they're referencing the Vietnam War in this comic. They're referencing a bunch of college students complaining about the fucking rich people's allegedly getting something that the other people aren't, and while other people need something. Like that's not a quote unquote political as what we would see as modern American politics. It's not even like they're fighting for like black rights in this protest. It's not reflecting an actual event that's happening in our modern era. This is just a general cultural thing that happens to anybody that's ever been on a college campus.
Yeah, but it was based on a actual college protest, but it's not the specific thing they were protesting, and it's more an examination of what methods they're using. Again, like in one of the panels we had here, they're thinking, "Hey, let's take that tablet and get a hold of that, and that'll get them on to, they'll have to deal with that." And Robbie's going, "Wait a minute, that's stealing.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with what we're trying to accomplish?" So, there's debate within the group of what are the proper methods we should be using to get what we're trying to protest about.
Where now you've got Batman going, well, they've got insurance, so it's okay if the looters protest and burn down those buildings.
That one aged well. Look where we're at today with the insurance in California.
What insurance?
Yeah. Oh,
Eat
man.
shit for that one, Chip Zdarsky. What trash. I didn't read that comic, but my buddy Wes covered it very well on his channel, so I saw that trash. Oh my god. Anyway,
that's what we mean by comics being political. This is not political.
Do you got anything else for this?
I think I let the other guys talk on this
All
one.
right, we'll let
I've said
Pablo.
plenty on it.
We'll let Pablo have his take, and then we'll shoot this shit for about a half hour after that and call it a night. So Pablo, you're the last man up, and I know you go out with a bang.
Okay, first of all, this is one of those
You gonna-
rare issues where you can't really tell who's really the bad guy here. In one hand, you have the kingpin. In the other hand, you have hippies.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're not hippies.
No, they're hippies. They're
they
Oh.
they are hippies.
They don't
Go
have
on.
long
Black
hair.
Panthers. They're Black Panthers.
Go on.
No, the whole setup is really interesting to me because, well, there's police in the campus. There's a lot of things in the campus that I will not see in my country. In my country, universities have autonomy, so they are basically the same as embassies. The police cannot enter.
Mm-hmm.
The police cannot touch inside of a university. They cannot do anything inside of a university without the direct consentment of the. um I think the dean can sometimes give permission to enter to the police, but normally it will be the director of the whole university, the one that has to sign a permit, and it takes a lot of time. It's a whole process. So when there were protests in my college, I was in the Universidad Central del Ecuador, the main university, the first university here in Ecuador, founded by, I believe it was Franciscan monks. And then somehow it became a commie recruitment center. And now it's basically, well, just a commie recruitment center, to be honest. But we had a lot of protest there. And we will, well, I say we, I was trying to study. And this is something that really happened while I was in a classroom. The police here has these tear gas grenade launchers. One
yeah.
of the tear gas grenades enters through the window to the classroom where I was studying, where I
Mhm.
was receiving class. And this is like a couple of I will say like 300 meters, maybe more, from
Mhm.
where the protest was happening. The assholes just shot into the university, and we got a tear gas grenade inside of the classroom. Well, I was trying to. Anyway, the reason why I never finished that career is because I told one of the political leaders in my career that they were absolute imbeciles because they wanted us to go and burn tires in the street. Well, they come to ask us that while we are in the ecology class.
It's fucking crazy.
Dude,
It's fucking crazy.
And
I want to add something before you continue, Pablo. This is my second favorite moment, where it's when Kingpin pushed Parker and noticed something
yeah,
was different about him. Even
that
though
was
he
good.
looked and he's like, that guy looks like he had recognized me or something. I was like, Wilson Fisk showed how observant he is in his
Mhm.
well, he can measure strength.
observations.
He actually fights, so he can measure the strength. And if you are just pushing somebody, and not even the whole body, just the legs are strong enough, you will
Mhm.
get a lot of resistance. You will get a lot of extra force. So when you are pushing, obviously you will notice, well, this guy is actually really strong. And well, Peter can act dual and everything, but he cannot change his muscle mass when he dresses as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man. So, well, the Kingpin will notice. The Kingpin can easily ragdoll anybody except him. Okay, there's something different about this guy. So yeah, that's actually really smart. A lot of the setup is really smart. A lot of using Robbie's son as part of the whole thing. Uh, Having Robbie actually worried about the situation to a point where he actually basically shoots down J. Jonah Jameson. And that's something that he never really does. He kinda allows J. Jonah to be an asshole all the time. No, it was. I'm not interested in your bullshit. I'm going to cover this. I'm doing real journalism here. And I was like, damn. It's cool that moment of Robbie just shooting down Jay Jonah and Jay Jonah speechless for the first time in a long time. And the fact that Robbie kind of tells him, well, we need to have story. We cannot write a story without actual facts. He was just destroying Jay Jonah.
Yeah, he's right though, and because he's basically the internet in this situation
Yeah.
where he can't live without a slow news day. He needs something to keep the world going, to be angry about or keep the clicks going. So Robbie's like, hey, we can't do everything at every single moment in time, and this is how it went. Oh, Steve's gotta go. Hey, Steve, thanks for being here, buddy. Take care. I'll see you in a few
Goodbye,
days.
man.
Mars Monkey Man said Kingpin
Thanks,
act
Steve.
like Mitch McConnell. That's fucking funny. Oh, you got So, what's up, Mars Monkey? What's up, JT Gunn, sir? Thank you guys for being here. I see the late bloomers coming in here. I love it. Thank you guys for dropping in. Now, I love seeing how this situation has been like acknowledged, from the protest to Kingpin with the mollywopping of the bad guys to Robbie Robertson with the slow news day. Sometimes it just is what it is. It's okay to, take a breath from it. Not everyone needs to be on edge and be in a constant state of anxiety. Sometimes the world just slows down like a snail or a turtle. You decide which animal.
As Debo pointed, the fact that Peter wanted to hear the other side before anything. That's something that you will never get in current day.
No.
The character will get in the side of the protesters instantly. And as a lot of people that live in places with heavy protest, with heavy terrorism, to be honest, will tell you, you cannot really go to one side or the other. There's normally the side that is protesting, that they may be even protesting for something that is worth it, but they are full of shit. You have the people that they are protesting against that is full of shit, and you have normal people that are like, well, you are full of shit. And normally reality is exactly in the middle, both of them full of shit. That's it. That's how things go. So Peter, being the voice of reason and actually thinking about this in a more mature way, shows his character, show exactly what kind of person he is. The whole situation where the Kingpin is using the protest as a way to take something of value, that happened in my country, by the way. During the 2 weeks, like 5 years ago, where more almost
What,
6
to
years
flatten the
at this point.
curve?
Yeah. No. Before that,
Oh, don't get me
the
started.
indigenous people from my country took my city for 2 weeks by force. They were fighting with sticks at one point against the military that had weapons, and they were kicking their ass. So that shows you how well protected my country is, I guess. But during that period, somebody faking a protest burned down a building where they had evidence for really heavy political cases. Yeah. So they burned the evidence, they burned absolutely everything. They destroyed a lot of possible convictions here in my country, and they were using the protest so people will be enraged, so nobody will notice that they were throwing the Molotov bombs to the building that held the evidence. That happens all the time, right? So the Kingpin is not using something that is too far fetched as a cover. Having protesters, it's a really good way to make sure that people don't pay attention when you are doing something really, really bad. It's clever, it works. So I felt like that was pretty much on point. Then the fight is fucking great because, again, Peter had to unleash a hell of a storm of punches on the Kingpin, and the Kingpin is still conscious. Must remember that normally Spider-Man has to held his punches against normal people because he knows that if he throws a mid-level punch, he will kill the person. He cannot fight.
Mhm.
There's a couple of instances where we have seen that actually he can unleash his power because the opponent can take it, and he is relieved that he doesn't have to think about punching soft, that he can actually go all the way, he can actually try to make damage. In this, he was trying to make damage, he was trying to take down a fucking mountain of muscle, and the mountain stood. The mountain took every single hit and he was conscious. He actually ended up getting the tablet and running away. The Kingpin is a beast. I don't know. I know that the explanation up to this point is just that he used to do sumo in Japan. That's the whole thing. You're like, I gotta eat more rice, man. A lot more rice because that shit gives you superpowers.
They eat a lot more than rice.
Yeah, but
a lot more.
shit.
I love how frequent the Kingpin has been in these issues. I love that.
Oh yeah,
And,
Romita really, that was his character as far as a villain. He really wanted to showcase that character.
I know he had
does.
interest in Daredevil too, so it kind of worked out. Even though he didn't get to do Daredevil as much as he wanted to, he got to use a villain that would become ultimately an essential Daredevil villain. So
remember that
life
in
is
this
funny
issue,
like that.
in this issue, the Kingpin says that only Spider-Man has actually make him lose. Basically, he's the only one that has put a stop on his plans. And yeah, up to this point, Daredevil is not a thing.
No.
He will be though.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I was thinking about Daredevil the moment that I wrote that line that is Spider-Man is the only foe that has let me get the line because I don't remember it verbatim. But anyway, is basically that is Spider-Man is the only one that has defeated the Kingpin, and he's salty about that. But
very
it's a-
salty.
yeah.
Yeah, he takes
Yeah.
that. That's why he takes out the guys at the beginning. Is somebody mentioned Spider-Man to him, and that really set him
Oh,
off enough that he took those goons out in 4 or 5 panels, and then fired them all. It's because Spider-Man's really under his skin right now.
You get a
And it
couple of tricks
shows.
back. Also, the Game Blast is back again. I don't think in the 90s, I don't think they ever used the Game Blast that much.
I don't recall. Well, I don't remember the Daredevil ones as well, but certainly in Spider-Man, he doesn't. I don't really think he used it hardly at all.
Kinda gets forgotten, and it's a really neat trick. Kingpin has the gas on his neck, has the blast on his cane, has a couple of weapons, is a expert martial artist, is really interesting as a character in this era. Later they make him just a gangster, but in at this time he actually has a lot of tricks, has a lot of cool stuff, and he wins. At the end, he wins.
Mhm.
And Spider-Man has to deal with the hippies and then try to chase the bad guy. So yeah, it's a different kind of issue. The pacing is all over the place, I will say. You have those cool moments with Peter and Gwen Stacy. You have those slow moments, and then you have the whole protest speak that is just a bunch of nonsense from the protesters and
Mhm.
just tropes, and Peter being the voice of reason. And then you have hell on earth, you have the whole fight, you have the building being basically siege, and the Kingpin just entering and breaking everybody around him. So it's a weird issue. Is slow. Is quite more thoughtful than normal. I like it. I really like it. It's weird because it's not the normal Spider-Man. You don't get just a whole lot of fighting with the bad guy and a resolution at the end, or a cliffhanger that is more neutral.
Mhm.
Unless you are talking about Doc Ock. Doc Ock actually get Spider-Man into a really difficult situation, but it's not like he went away. Spider-Man is fine, but Doc Ock just went away and he's free. Kingpin just gets in the car and he's off, and that's it. Crime is done. He won. That's it.
Well, he's a mobster, he's not a villain. He's not the super villain. He's a mobster, right? Like he's a crime lord. So that's what he does. And yeah.
So it's not a bunch of superpowers or really interesting tricks. It's just a guy that wants to steal something and a bit of politics. And the politics are more like in the side of, well, maybe everybody should shut the hell up.
So Occupant 42 had a really cool point on Rumble. He says the writer also did a good job of reminding us that the Kingpin, and this adds to what you're saying, Pablo, is not just a brawler. He's smart and aware, noticing Peter was different just from shoving. They showed us instead of telling us. Bring it
Yep.
back to what I was saying when I said that he noticed when he shoved them. Yeah, no, it's really cool how that happens. You know, people talk about, oh, it's not like these comics were so simple and there was not that much thought put in. No, there was thought put into them. The fact that they could try to make as many little details count. Sure, they didn't get every single one, but they didn't have to either. But the ones that they did, like especially for the more observant type of readers, really, we appreciate it that much more. And yeah, you could argue, oh, it was a simpler time. Maybe in terms of where the world and culture was, sure, but these storylines clearly had a lot of thought put into them because they were still juggling a lot then. Yeah, you had a lot of stories that were more self-contained to where we write for the trade now, but they are still juggling a lot more ultimately, even if it was issues that were what seemed on the surface level as they'd done in one issue, because they still had to acknowledge what came before, still keeping the cares intact, set up the future while still telling a story in the present, while still also keeping in mind what else is going around them in the Marvel universe, whether it's the temperature, little things like that, or what characters they can or can't use because so and so's off in another book. There's lots of mindfulness and awareness on how they utilize all these characters. Nowadays, it's like the worst version of a Florida man with all these things, and it's been that way for quite some time. So I'd make the grand argument that there was actually a lot more thought and more work on trying to commit to the craft back then with these stories, even with the formats of trying to have these more normie friendly stories, because in a way they kind of are more normie friendly because the normie could jump into these more and get their money and time's worth and be out if they want to. They are more normie friendly in that case. I know that doesn't sound great to hear, but if you think about it, they really are.
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
one of the
I
things
was 6 years old when this was coming out. Now I enjoyed them, but there were a lot of college age students that were reading and enjoying these because it spoke to them what was going on. And I'd say you kind of said, well, it might not be as complicated back then, and I'd say no, it was.
I feel like it
Because
was.
I mean, in 1968, you're talking the year that Martin Luther King was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated.
Mhm.
It was a presidential election year that was hotly contested. It was a very close race in that. And there was, I mean, like this was based on campus protest. There was a lot of campus protests, a lot of protests about the Vietnam War and the draft. Yeah, there was a lot of unrest in 1968. It was a bad year. So politically and socially, it was a horrible year.
And something about
And
what
yeah, it's just as complicated then as it is now. It's very similar.
I'd
so-
actually argue really quickly. Let me have this, Pablo. For Deep to respond to Deep's point. Yeah, for some people they think it's easier, like because oh well, they just had these stories where they could just be done with. It was more complicated for them to do this because while they were juggling once again all the real life continuities. Oh, sorry, not the real life continuity, the continuity of fiction. While still trying to embrace some of the real world elements. So they were juggling ultimately a lot more back then. Well, nowadays you can have characters be written out of character because some of these guys, they pre-write a story and they go to the editor and like, what characters can I use for this story? Versus back then you wrote for the characters. Now a lot of guys like, I'll drop a name, Tom King. He writes a story and he makes his characters revolve around a story rather than the story is a Spider-Man story. Instead nowadays you get a Tom King writing DC story versus a story that's about the Flash per se. Yeah, they were juggling a lot more back then because they actually had a lot more they had to consider in mind when doing this. So it may seem on the surface that was simpler, but no, it was actually a lot more complicated.
Well, and Occupant 42 makes a good point about it. It always got new readers up to speed without pages of exposition. And I think that's one of the things that I'm an origin stories guy. I like to know a little bit of the background of the story. And one of these comics, especially in some of the earlier issues where they'd go, hey, you remember when that happened? And they'd give you like the little blurb of what happened in the last issue. Or they'd give, hey, remember our favorite whose powers come from X, Y, and Z, just so you know real quick in like the first 5 seconds of the page. Yeah, just in case you missed it, this is your first time jumping in. Here you go. No big deal. This is who your character is. This is who your homeboy is. This is who you're going to be following. And then now you can carry on with the story. And it's like, and when they stop doing stuff like that, like, because it was funny back when I was very much still a comics normie, and I still am, but like even when I was even more fresh to all that kind of stuff, are you supposed to ask, is there an origin story? Isn't there? Is there, if I buy this set, if I buy this run, is there going to be an origin story? Am I going to know who this character is? Am I going to have an idea of where he came from at some point in this story? And most people couldn't even tell you left or right, either sideways, if that ever happened. Whereas you go back to the comics of this era and even earlier, and they're like, we give you a quick little blurb about the origin story in every little issue, just so on the off chance this is your first issue, then we want you here for that. Whereas when it got decades later, it's like the people that started writing it just assumed everybody had always read these comics, and they were only writing comics for people that had been reading it for decades, which when you're trying to make a movie or an adaptation, that's a good way to do things. But if you're trying to gain new readers, if you're trying to gain new customers with every episode, with every issue, I'm sorry, always in a television brain. If you're trying to bring that back with every single issue, then you're not going to be able to pull new readers in by doing that. Don't get me wrong. Some of the very first comics I ever got fresh off the press were Ghost Rider comics. And there was enough of an explanation in those as to who Johnny Blaze was and to where the Spirit of Vengeance came from. And if you read some of the older Ghost Rider comics, they always give you that blurb in the very beginning of who this is. Ghost Rider, you're following Johnny Blaze, the Spirit of Vengeance. He was possessed by yada yada yada, and now he seeks to do he has to do all of this stuff, and it's like you always got a little bit of that in every single issue. And that's how you do it if you want to constantly grow your fan base. If you want to constantly grow your customer base, that's how you do it. These comics nowadays, they're written for themselves and their friends. And it's honestly been written for comic book fans for a really long time, not the normies, and you're trying to bring them in as comic book fans. Whereas you saw a lot of this stuff back in these earlier years where that's what they were doing. And I think was really one of the starts of the downfall of the comic book industry, which led to the current state we're in now, is because they stopped trying to reach normies. They stopped trying to reach first-time readers and were just writing for themselves. And that's it. So
I will give you a really good reason why those editor notes were so important. And it's because if you want to have those editor notes, you want to have those pointers about the story, you actually have to go back to the story and read whatever happened, then you get continuity. And that continuity makes the character has a really nice progression that you won't get in current era, because in current era they don't care about the past. They are trying to write their own version of the character. In this, they were going back to the last fight that this character had with this character, and they have to read the issue and they have to acknowledge whatever happened there. So, well, now that we know that happened, how do we keep that chemistry? How do we keep that continuity going on this issue that we are writing? That makes the comics better because they have to understand whatever is happening in the page, not just write whatever they think could happen, and makes the character way more interesting because you are anticipating what the thought process will be, what the actions will be. You remember whatever happened in the last issue, so you know that this trick won't work this time. You need to do something else, and it's really interesting. Keeps you engaged, keeps you informed, and makes the character feel better for the people that have been reading this for a long time. Also, about the point that Debut made about a lot of kids on college age were reading Spider-Man. Well, yeah, but they were reading Spider-Man a few years before when they were not in college. So these are the kids that were reading Spider-Man when Spider-Man was in high school, and now they are in college, and the character is in college. The character, we have seen how much Spider-Man has grown in the last 60 issues, 60 something issues. He's becoming smarter. He's becoming way more of a charmer. His self-confidence has boosted. His skills as a Spider-Man have improved greatly. He knows now how to use the spider sense to fight in the dark, to detect illusions, to know whenever something really is about to happen. He can basically predict the future, and that's something that he says in this issue that sadly doesn't work with women. So where was the spider sense when he needed it the most?
Right.
Yeah, but he's comfortable.
But a college age person can read this and enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely.
Older people can read it and enjoy it. Younger
Yeah.
people, I mean, I was 6. I was able to enjoy it. So it had an appeal across ages because it had things that somebody young who could barely read could enjoy just from the visuals. But it also had depth that, an adult could enjoy out of it as well. And I mean,
If you're a
they certainly
teenager-
did not make anything of the current stuff that I've seen that would really appeal to young kids as far as superhero comics.
D-Bud, you're hitting on something great because you got the kids, you got the adults, but then you got the teenagers. The teenagers relate to a lot of these situations, the demonstrations, the dating, the checking up on family, the moving out, being a roommate, getting a job, trying to get by, all those things. You really could appeal to all of those mediums, especially with a character like Spider-Man. He
Yeah.
really did have the
Mhm.
best of all worlds with that because the suit does look cool to kids. The fights look cool to kids. The teenagers have the teenage problems, which hit home, probably hit harder for them because of the adults, because they pick up on the nuances and smaller details of the story, and we appreciate the art, the craft, the continuity of it all. There really is all levels of this type of storytelling. To me, that once again, we're just doing is proving why comics at its truest potential can be the best form of reading mediums because of everything it does and how many people it can appeal to while still being true to what it needs to be.
Just something to add about a comment that Mars Monkey said a while ago now, that Dr. Octopus could have been done better in the films. Yeah, but it could have done way worse. Remember, you didn't get Dr. Octopus doing the naked mambo with Aunt May, and that is canon. So you dodge a bullet. I'm just saying. They could have gone way worse. And it will be comic accurate. Maybe they did enough. That's why I do like Spider-Man 2. I love that movie. The Dr. Octopus on that movie, especially with the effects when he's waking up in the hospital. I fucking love that movie.
Awesome scene. I'm
my,
with you.
My favorite superhero movie is the Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
All right, dudes. It's gonna be the part where we call it an evening. It's been fucking awesome. Love talking classic Spidey. Before we plug our plugs, I just want to thank everyone in the chats, YouTube and Rumble. Appreciate the interaction, the engagement, your time, little bit, a portion, half, most of it, all of it, regardless. Don't freaking matter. Christian for his member comment. And I'm going to read Occupant's comments on Rumble before we plug our plugs. He says, I haven't read much of the new stuff, but it seems like the stories used to be character-driven. Now that they're event-driven. Oh, you nailed it. Character reacts this way as opposed to this happened to character. Oh, yeah. Yep. No, it's okay for things and memes to change, but sometimes when you change things too much, it becomes unrecognizable for what the medium became. So that's a subject for another day and something I would like to delve deep on. Who knows? Maybe I'll think of that as an idea for a video. We'll see. Coming up on my channel, obviously we'll be here next week. Issue 69 through 72 of ASM. So get up to speed and join us so you can talk about your thoughts in the chat on these issues. Once again, ASM 69 through 72 volume 1. That's 4 issues. Get up to speed with us on these 4 issues so you can have your thoughts and just engage with us on it. Otherwise, if you want to hear what we have to say, that's cool too. But just in case you want to read along with us. And between then and now, Toxic Tuesday, talking Man on Fire, Denzel Washington, one of the best actors of all time. Man.
That man is on fire.
Got some sweet time open up, so I will have another video or 2 out within the next week as well, which I'm excited to have. So that'll be coming. Of course, I'll be at Midnight's Edge After Dark and Comics Division's Thursday Night Throwdown next week. So those are my plugs. I'm gonna let these men plug their plugs on the way out. We'll start off with D-Bud. Even though he doesn't really have like a active channel, he is part of things that he contributes to. So D-Bud.
Yes, you'll see me wrenching around on some place called Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and many affiliated channels like the Latino Slant and his arch enemy, Backdoor Geary of Pop Culture Minefield. I went from modding his show today to Geary's show. And then to Brian, that 70s rock fan,
Oh.
who he's gone back to his Monday time slot for his live streams. And this Monday, he'll be covering the Canon film America 3000. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but it's about it's a post-apocalyptic future where the women rule the world.
Yeah, it was not a
And-
nice time.
Yeah, no, but he'll be going over that film. He'll also have Austin Trunick, who has done the Canon film guides. Will be it should be on that show on Monday. I think it's 6 o'clock. Oh no, 5 o'clock Eastern, I believe. He's got Mountain Time, so he's that's a fictional time. And you'll see me on the WWD Pro shows, the Valiant Renegade on Sunday, all those fun places. So I'm sure I'll see several of you in the chats there. And just thank you for having me on again, Nick.
My pleasure.
I love talking about Silver Age comics.
Oh, of course. We're far from done with this, man.
And next week I'll actually have some. I didn't have any books that we did tonight, but I'll have some for next week.
Nice.
All good, brother. All good. Thank you for being here and having your time and contributions. I love having you on when we can get you for this. So looking forward to next week. Common Nerd, sir.
Yeah. I've got a video that I dropped today over the Hollywood nonsense and all the fires and Hollywood actors blasting everybody involved in all of that. I've got more stuff that I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and edit, have more videos coming out tomorrow. I've normally got videos coming out at 4, 6, and 8 on my Common Nerds channel. There's normally at least one video coming out on the Common Nerd Gaming channel Monday through Friday as well. So definitely go check that one out as well. We just crossed 800 on the Common Nerd Gaming channel, trying to get that one all the way to 1,000 so we can have it fully monetized. Just crossed 1,500 over on the Common Nerds channel, our new channel, since our last one got nuked. So make sure if you haven't already, come subscribe to the new one over there. Almost to 1,600 on that one, trying to get back to that 4K we had before. Come find us on Rumble. We just crossed 1,000. We're almost to 1,100 over there on Rumble. But Sunday, we've got the 2 p.m. Bible study. And then Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we've got When Who Was Good, Dear Sweet Sunker Maiden, and Mr. Grant Gregory will join us for that one. We also have a new option now that Rumble has gifted subs over there. Sunker has done her usual debasing of her own personal self for all the rest of ours enjoyment and my own profitability. And so if you give a gifted membership sub over there now, you get a very fun clip and a new access to a new emoji over there on Rumble as well, an emoji that YouTube will not allow. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, come check that out. I'm going to work on some more clips for all of those fun, like gifted donos and subs and everything else that we do on all of those shows. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., the morning prep. We go through all your pop culture, nerd, and gaming news, cut videos, chit chat. We do that show. That show normally lasts about 4 hours. So if you don't think you're going to make it at 11 a.m., don't worry about it. We'll still be going at 2. So come hang out at that. Monday nights are gaming nights, normally around 9 or 9:30. I'm probably going to do a gaming stream tomorrow, either Cyberpunk 2077 or Marvel Rivals. If I can find a big enough crew to play Marvel Rivals with me, I'll do that. The new season just dropped for that one. Sue Storm's ass is fucking, dude. That Sue Storm is so fucking hot in that game. They did a great job of that. It's full-blown toxic masculinity, full-blown toxicity. It's fucking great. It's wonderful. This is what happens when you have an Asian company make a Marvel game. They actually give you beautiful characters. It's a wonderful thing. So check that out as well tomorrow. Monday night, like I said, video games. Wednesday night, we've got the midweek hump, which is back now. Super glad to have that, hanging out with all my boys and occasionally a girl over there as well. Thursday nights, we are doing a kind of like a review show, kind of like what Nick does, except we do it exclusively on Rumble. So you can do a watch party with us over there on Rumble and do all of that kind of stuff. We just got finished with Creature Commandos last week. Oh God. Wait for Sunker and I's full review on that, which I'm going to edit out tomorrow for the final 2 episodes that we watched last night. Holy cow, that was bad. Have not played Indiana Jones and the Great Circle yet, Steven. If it's on my wish list, if anybody wants to go buy it for me on Steam, I will absolutely play it. I've heard really good things about that game. And then yeah, I guess that's big back at it over here for Comic Shop Talk on Friday nights. Other than that, yeah, I'm a busy man. I'm always doing something. Come subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. If you like gaming stuff, go hit the notification bell on the gaming channel. If you want to see me do everything all at once, go hit the notification game on the channel. Same thing with the Rumble, do all that kind of stuff. Become a member. This is my full-time job. Thank the Lord. I've been blessed with the best chat in the fellowship to be able to make that happen. The last 2 days have been overtly generous, and I've just been so very fucking amazed and blown away by the fact that I can do this full time. So you guys have been amazing, and I love this show. This is great. I get to go back and I have an excuse to read comics for work. And it's I love these Friday nights. I ain't got to host. I ain't got to pay attention. I just got to read my comics and show up on time, and it's fucking great. I have a blast, and I love hanging out with all my boys. So thanks for having me, Nick. This is I love this show. You know it. It's been it's been a pleasure ever since you invited me on, man.
I love having you on, sir. Thank you.
I'm the normie around here. I'm the normie who hasn't read any of this stuff before. I'm not the expert like D-Bud. I'm coming into this with you for fresh eyes. So yeah, I love it. I love it. Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
You
we
get
still
fresh
love
eyes and
your
old
time and
eyes.
contributions. So
That's why D-Bud and I make
virgin eyes and all, it's appreciated.
Giggity.
All right, Pablo, plan to plug your plug, and it's time to say goodnight.
Hey, this week a couple of videos dropped on my message, so I will recommend to watch them. Also, I got a really good boost on confidence because, well, Tom needed something to add in one of the videos, and he wanted it done by me because he likes how I do it, and that actually boosted my confidence a lot. I'm normally like, I paint by numbers. I have a lot of automation in what I do because I'm a nerd. If I can find a way to make something not easier, but at least faster, I will. And the fact that he likes it makes me really glad. So yeah, a couple of videos on Minus I will say you should check them out. Also, it has been a few terrible weeks for the VTuber fan community because there's a lot of bullshit there. But I will recommend to you, if you didn't, I think it was Thursday. Yeah, it was either Thursday or Wednesday that Pipa had a really good stream where she reads about Kickstarter failures, and let's just say insanity ensues, including a whole conversation about agents from the sun coming to kill a game developer because I won't say more because I don't want this channel taken down. But yeah, it was insanity. It was a whole lot of crazy, stupid shit. There's a clip that I shared the other day that summarized everything, and it was one of the best streams that I have seen in a long time. I miss the old school YouTube. I'm glad that if you haven't seen the Facebook, the Mark Zuckerberg, whatever you said, interview on Joe Rogan, you should. There's crazy stuff there, and I mean, fucking insane.
Well, he had back-to-back between Zuck the Cuck and Mel Gibson, so I will eventually check them both out when I can get them to see, because they're both interesting for me to hear. I like Rogan, but I watch it depending who's the guest because it's nothing against Rogan. I like him. I respect him. Obviously, he has a great show. He's put in mad work. He's earned his spot in the world. But it's kind of like I know his takes on things. I know 99.5%. There's nothing he's gonna say it's gonna surprise me. So, but when he's got a guess, that's where I could see how he responds to it. And that to me is what intrigues me. That's why I think him and Trump was talking. It was great. But now him and Zuck, wherever that goes, and him and Gibson, wherever that goes, I am wholly interested in. Interested.
The fact that, as Zuckerberg said, there's a restitution of freedom in his platforms. There's a coming back to reason on his platforms that I'm really glad to know. I don't use his platforms though, but I'm really glad to know that. If YouTube could do that, and we could get back the good old era. And I mean, when we had people like Jontron going ham, going really crazy, doing stupid shenanigans, and actually getting paid good money for that, I will be really glad, because that's the kind of YouTube where I want to do videos on. That's the kind of YouTube where Andre could do a lot of craziness, could write. I know he's holding back on some of his opinions to make them more YouTube friendly, and some of my editing has been YouTube friendly. I want to go back to the era where you could make a really insulting joke and people will get that it's a joke. So calm your teeth and enjoy. That's it, man. I want to go back to that era. I want to go back to 2008, 2010 at best. After that, it's all downhill. And you're muted.
Luckily, I didn't say much, but I did say I agree. Yeah, I would love to be in a time with the Wild West again of social media. To me, that's the only way that it functions best, is when it's the Wild West. So I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. I still don't trust Zuck the Cuck, but you know, time will tell on that one. Thank you for being here, sir. Your time, your contributions, your wisdom, enthusiasm, humor, your wonderful, elaborate thoughts. All of it is absolutely. So have a great magical weekend, sir. And I can't wait to see what comes out next from you at Midnight's Edge. Dudes, gentlemen, thank you again for being here, supporting us on YouTube and Rumble. But this is the end.
Did you get your Muslim Uncle's super chat?
He sent a super chat?
Yeah. On the YouTube side?
Oh, I didn't see it. It's not showing up on my feed here.
That's true.
Fuck? I'm sorry. Hold on. Now
you can't miss this one. Yeah.
They changed the API. There's a lot of things that are not working, even on OBS.
I open up a separate tab. Now I say, I am really, really sorry, your Muslim uncle. He says for $4.99. Thanks for keeping Clobby's memory alive. Hail. And hail to you, sir. Happy New Year. Seriously, I am so freaking sorry I missed that. I can't believe I missed it. Oh man, I feel bad.
You know what else you missed?
What?
Had done a toast.
Hey, I didn't even
open my beer next week.
I have something else.
My glass is empty and the fridge is across. And we do I got a face plant. You guys can do it. You guys can do it. But I gotta knock the hell out because I got work in the morning. But guys, thank you for being here. Thank you, your Muslim uncle, for the $5, sir. You all have a great night. You have a great weekend. I'll see some of you on Tuesday. Goodbye, good fight, and good night. Okay? Bye.
Bye.
What you calling me, Thigh?
I called you a fucking guinea homo from the 15th fucking century, you dickhead.
I can stick you in my ass, small fry.
Yeah? You sure it ain't too soft?